Zikoko has more.
Prosecutors told the court they would be relying on witness statements, forensic evidence and expert analysis to argue that Ayanda Dludla's actions meet the legal standards for murder rather than culpable homicide. Prosecutors say the decision to escalate the charges are based on evidence suggesting intent, which could see Dludla face life imprisonment if convicted. NPA spokesperson Lumka Mahanjana.
There's enough evidence to prove the charge of murder. You must understand the charge of culpable homicide is a lighter charge as compared to murder. However, the evidence that is in the docket proves that there was intention, hence the charge is now murder.
The matter has been postponed to the 5th of March for further investigation as families of the victims continue to seek answers and justice. Mongi Zikoko, Eyewitness News, Vanderbilt Park.
Higher Education and Training Minister Buti Manamela has denied that the higher education system is failing. Briefing the media earlier today on the sector's state of readiness, Manamela admitted that universities, TVET colleges and other public higher learning institutions are struggling to keep up with demand for study opportunities. More than 650,000 learners passed matric last year, with nearly half achieving bachelor passes. But Manamela admits many will not be accepted into universities because there aren't enough spaces that are funded to accommodate all these learners.
It's not that we've failed. It is that we now need to reorganize ourselves to meet the new demand. Yes, the question of space has been a challenge, yes, but it has not been in the psyche of society. It has not been to this proportion.
He says discussions have started with Basic Education Minister Siviwe Kwagube about the expectation created by awarding learners bachelor passes.
We are going to have a fight this year with basic education, a very friendly fight, because bachelors, or categorizing a pass as bachelors, essentially means that you are creating an expectation which our rules in universities do not necessarily operate by. So we've already raised this with the minister.
The Western Cape government says it's working around the clock to avert a possible day zero in Knysna as the Garden Route town's water crisis deepens. Knysna's primary water source is now sitting at just 18% capacity, leaving the town with an estimated 13 days of water left in the system if consumption continues at current levels. Last week Friday, the Knysna Council declared the municipality a local disaster area, while the provincial government is in the process of approaching the National Disaster Management Centre for a formal disaster declaration. Ntutuzela Nene has more.
Western Cape government officials have given an update on the Knysna water crisis and the recent wildfires across the Cape, including the Winelands, Overberg and Garden Route. Local government head of department Graham Paulser says efforts are now concentrated on trying to fill the Akkerkloof Dam to stabilize the system.
We had 2 or 3 bores come online. There's various other augmentation by means of springs. The provincial government is working very closely with the national department to ensure that Knysna does not reach a day zero.
Level 4 water restrictions are currently in place and residents are urged to drastically reduce their water usage. Ndutuzelo Nene, Eyewitness News.
And US President Donald Trump has launched his new Board of Peace in Davos today with a signing ceremony for a body with a $1 billion membership fee and a controversial list of invitees. A group of leaders and senior officials from 19 countries gathered on stage with Trump to put their names to the founding charter of the body. Originally meant to oversee peace in Gaza after the war between Hamas and Israel, the board's charter envisions a wider role in resolving international conflicts, sparking concerns that Trump wants it to rival the United Nations. However, Trump, who is the chairman of the Board of Peace, said the organization would work in conjunction with the UN. The Board of Peace's potential membership has, however, proved controversial, with Trump having invited Russian President Vladimir Putin, who said he's still studying the invite. Here's U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio.
Now we have this Board of Peace, who I believe's possibilities are endless. Obviously with a focus first and foremost on making sure that this peace deal in Gaza becomes enduring. This is not just a board of peace, this is a board of action. Oftentimes in international affairs, we often find ourselves at events where people are reading these scripted statements, these strongly worded letters that they put out, but no action, nothing happens. This is a group of leaders that are about action.
Gold's trading at $4,820.37 an ounce. The rand's at 16.20 to the dollar, at 21.75 to the pound, at 18.96 to the euro. Brent crude oil's at $64.23 a barrel.
Traffic lights still not working in Bryanston at Winnie Mandela Drive and Grosvenor in Kyalami at the R55 and Kyalami Boulevard. There's also traffic lights out of order in Edenville at Modderfontein Road and Van Riebeek.
In your sport, Novak Djokovic, Madison Keys and Naomi Osaka through to the third round of the Australian Open. Liverpool closed in on UEFA Champions League last 16th berth. And Bangladesh refused to go to India for the T20 World Cup.
Look at your weather. It's a partly cloudy afternoon with isolated showers and thunder showers expected in Gauteng today. Temperatures are peaking at highs between 25 and 28 degrees. The top story in Eyewitness News this hour. The state believes the driver in the Vanderbilt Park Scholar Transport case intentionally rammed his vehicle into a truck, killing 14 learners.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
7:02
Live
on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856,
92.7
and 106 FM. Let's walk the talk.
Eight minutes after 3 o'clock. Welcome to 702 Drive, 702 Afternoon Drive with John Perlman is proudly brought to you by Telkom Business. Possibility begins here. 8 minutes after 3. Great to have you with us. As I said, Thabo Sholemashau in 4. John Perlman, but the rest of the team remains the same. Yourself included, of course. Karabo Chali will tell us what's happening on our roads. Karabo Malapile will press the buttons and make me sound very professional and clear as I come out on your radio or any other gadget that you may be listening from. Jonathan Ferben Kabazela will also be here. He's the head chef, making sure that everything stays on the rails, assisted ably so by Rifue, and of course we'll get news updates from Maki Mulapo. And you are the most important ingredient of all of this, and without you we cannot do this. Welcome. Some of the things that we'll be touching on a little bit later on include scholar transport issue that is continuing to be a definite thorn on our backside. How do kids just die like that? My gripe about that is that we make a hullabaloo about this only when we see in the news these horrific incidents. In the middle of that, we don't say anything, we don't do anything, especially government. This is truly a tragic situation. John touched on it yesterday, and so have my other colleagues throughout the day. It's a very important story to focus on, and we will do exactly that until its logical conclusion. There's a housing summit that has been suggested by the minister. Apparently, there will be new constructed houses. They are of a different shape, different form. They would be far better than the current RDP houses, but are they affordable, and who is entitled to get those houses? Speaking of houses, we have a feature called Your House, Your Home. And on that feature, we'll look into the regulations governing the solar panels and solar energy in general. Do you have solar panels in your house? Was it certified? Do you know how much you need to pay to the authorities? We'll touch on that. Pick it up strike, also something that we want to look into, and we are desperately trying to get Pick It Up to speak to us. There are some areas in Johannesburg that have been affected by refuse not being collected, and it is something of serious concern. And of course, of very disturbing nature as well. News that just came in that an educator has died and 2 others were seriously injured after a gun-wielding man opened fire at them in Ntabangulu school in the Eastern Cape. And it was said that a local ward councillor who's at the scene said that the perpetrator came into Ntabangulu Junior Secondary School, where he used to be a teacher. He allegedly started shooting at educators who were holding a meeting and then turned the firearm on himself. And it was also alleged that the perpetrator was once accused of raping children at that particular school. And one educator has unfortunately died, and while others have been rushed to hospital. And we'll get more developments on this story. 11 minutes after 3 o'clock, I'm terribly sad to welcome you on those very sad news, but I thought you do need to be informed, and that's why we are here. Speaking of being informed, feel free to share your your information with us in 702 Land. Whatever happens, I would like to hear it from you. You could either send a voice message, which is what we'd prefer, on 072 702 1702, or just call us directly on 011-883-0702. Alternatively, we are on all socials. Twitter, formerly known as Twitter, now X. We are there as well at Radio 702. On Facebook, we are also there. 12 after 3, Karabo, the show has officially begun.
702
Let's walk the talk on 92.7
and 106 FM.
Going through some social media posts, I came across something that I wanted to share with you. And Kabazele and Karabo are here to help me to dissect this seemingly simple but somehow intricate matter. What's your personality type? Are you an introvert? Are you an extrovert? And you've always been like that, and you meet people, no, actually, I hate talking to people. I'm always quiet. That's what you may say. Oh, no, my personality is that I'm bubbly. I do this. This is just my personality. You must get used to it. Jono, welcome to the show, bro. You good?
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks, Tubbs. Nice
and
to
compliments.
have you with us. Thank you. Yeah, it's the first time we've seen each other this side of
and you're looking different, I must say. The listeners don't know this, but you are looking so different.
Thank you.
And it's a good difference.
Sporting some a beard there. Looking good.
I take after you.
When we both saw each other today, we were like, it's different. More hair on my head and more hair on your face.
Karabo, you good, man?
I'm good, and you, Chief?
But we've been working together throughout the holidays, so no compliments necessary for us, ne?
Have I seen you this year?
Yeah, the last show was on the 2nd of Jan.
Oh, okay.
It was this year.
Right.
The 2nd is this year, in case you didn't know. But guys, I have a question for you. Jono, what's your personality type? Are you an introvert or are you an extrovert, somewhere in the middle?
Yeah, I think I'm somewhere in the middle. So if I am... let's say I'm with new people, I probably would find myself being a little bit introverted. But then when I'm with people that I'm very comfortable with, I would be more extroverted.
Okay. You've always been like that?
No, I actually think when I was a lot younger, I was more extroverted. And then maybe as I've got a little bit older and my
a few heartbreaks later
gets hold of you, probably a little bit more introverted.
Yeah. Karambo?
I believe I am an extrovert because I kind of gel with people pretty quickly and easily. I can start conversations with pretty much anyone of any age or gender. So I guess, I'm more of an extrovert.
This is why I'm asking. I want you to listen to this, and then I'll come back to you, gentlemen. Don't go away.
Believe they were armor. What you call personalities isn't who you are, it's a defense mechanism that you built to survive. The shy kid was not born that way, he just learned that hiding was safer than being seen. The loud, confident kid is not naturally bold, he just learned that dominating the room meant controlling the threat. Jung said your personality is a mask, what he called the persona. It's the version of you that the world accepted and by proxy made you safe. But underneath, you're everything. Introverted and extroverted, weak and strong, logical and emotional. You just emphasized the traits that protected you and buried the ones that felt dangerous. Jung's point is this: stop defending your personality like it's your truth. It's just a survival strategy you outgrew but never updated. You're not stuck being that type of person, you're stuck believing you are.
Yeah, and that's why I asked that question, because I'd like to throw it to the 702 landers as well and ask you that, have you changed your personality over the years? And why did you change? We'd like to hear from you about that. And Jono, you said that you were actually an extrovert, happy, nice person, shouting
I'm still
about.
Happy.
Well,
I
hope so.
Let's not get that twisted.
Well, Carl Jung, the philosopher, seemed to think that we are all of that.
Yeah.
Actually, we only accentuate what is best serving our interest at that particular space in our lives. So when you go around, I'm quiet, that's not true. And you, Mr. I get along with everyone. Oh, yeah, everyone, any age, any gender.
This guy.
That's not truly who you are.
Come on, really? How does he know? Like, why? Where does he
they've
come up with
studied.
this theory? Nah, I think it's rubbish.
No, but I mean, you can be anything. It's just that you have found this mechanism, this coping mechanism that if I'm friendly, things work out better for me if I get along with everyone. Someone has decided to be a secluded individual and hide in the corner because that best works for them. John?
Yeah, so, I mean, I think those are maybe life circumstances which can influence how you put yourself out in the world. But I do think that there is something innate in us that you're born with that shapes who you are as a personality, in inverted commas. And then there are other factors that can influence that personality. But I still think, like, let's say if you're an introverted person, and you can see this in kids, like if you ask parents to look at their, this child versus this child, raised in the same household, under this, sort of the same circumstances, and those two siblings' personalities can be totally different to each other. And these are young kids, so they've still got to go out and experience
the world.
The world.
So it's nature versus nurture.
Exactly. So there's a big part of
nature
that defines it, and then
there's
nurture, and then I'd say
influenced by external factors.
Yeah.
Very interesting. I think this must become a philosophy show. But having said that, no, but very interesting, Jonah. But kids, they could be experiencing, those little ones, they could be experiencing their parents differently, even if they're twins.
Yeah.
And they could be, and it's quite interesting that it's innate in us. And do we accentuate it? Do we learn to deal with it?
But I think if you are an introverted person, you can learn to deal with your introvertedness.
Yeah.
But very difficult to change that, because that's what makes you as a person.
Yeah.
Right?
And I want to know from our listeners, have they changed? Have you changed your personality? Just like Kabazela here, he says that initially he was an extrovert, outwardly so, loud out there and everything else, but now he toned down a little bit. He's not completely shy, but he learned to tone down a little bit. Have you changed your personality over the years, and have you defined yourself by your perceived personality? Please let us know. Jonah?
Your personality, have you always been very much loud, bombastic?
Believe it or not, I'm an extremely shy person. I am very shy.
But not with the ladies, right? I'm kidding.
I want to take a study about a divorce rate on this show caused by such comments. I might be keen to know that.
I think what you must say, every time you do the show, you must be prepared to sleep in the dog box when you get
all the
home.
time.
You must just prepare.
Even if the topic has nothing to do with it. Karabo finds a way of making sure that I sleep in the dog box. But on a serious note, I'd love to find out from you. Please let us know. Have you changed your personality? And how do you define your own personality? Let us know on 072 702 1702, or what made you change what you perceived to be your personality. 20 minutes after 3. How do the roads look, Karabo?
Well, at the stage, Thabo, roads are looking really good. No major delays have been reported throughout 702 land. There's also no accident scenes on my radar. However, look out for those faulty traffic lights in the Bryanston area. These are likely to cause delays as the afternoon progresses. This is approaching Winnie Mandela Drive and Grosvenor. There's also faulty traffic lights in Kyalami. This is at the R55 and Kyalami Boulevard. In Bedford View, like heading into Bedford View, I see traffic is already building up. This is in Edenvale on the R24 westbound. Between Edenvale Road and the Gilulis interchange. If you come across any other traffic issues, please WhatsApp us on 072 702 1702.
Let's walk the talk.
702.
702 indeed. That case that I said, that matter that I said that we'll be looking at has taken a very interesting turn. And I'm referring to the scholar transport case where 14 learners were killed in that horrific accident. Well, The 10 is that the state now believes that the driver in the Vanderbilt Park Scholar transport case intentionally rammed his vehicle into a truck that killed 14 learners. And the allegations mark a major turn in a case that has shocked a country. And the prosecutors are now arguing that the crash was not an accident but a deliberate act. I don't know if you've had an opportunity to look into that particular video that has been making rounds on social media. And it is now argued that, and he's been charged with, amongst others, murder, suggesting that there was an intention. And if you listen to Clement Manyatela earlier on, he really went to lengths in trying to explain how the law would work in this instance. But this truly affects all of us, and I am literally also trying to put a spotlight on it. Not that it needs more, but we need to repeat this over and over and over again, that these vehicles are truly troublesome. Not all of them, but many of them. Children are not only subjected to harsh conditions inside those vehicles. At times, those scholar transport cars, they are playing extremely loud music early in the morning, 6:10 in the morning, and they would have packed little children like sardines in a can and playing loud music, driving like crazy maniacs, and subjecting the children to some of the harshest conditions. And these are the children that we hope that when they get to school, they listen, they absorb the curriculum, and they pass at the end of the year whilst being subjected to these conditions. And Mongezi Koko is the EWN reporter. We've asked Mongezi to give us the very latest on this matter. Mongezi, good afternoon. Welcome once again. I hope you're well. Mongezi, do we have you?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I lost you for a second there. Mongezi, this turn where now it is believed that the driver in Vanderbilt Park Scholar case had intentionally rammed his vehicle into a truck. What brought about this absurd turn, and to what extent will this shape the case moving forward?
Thabo, it's quite early in terms of court proceedings to try and understand why exactly the state opted to move away from the culpable homicide charge and instead pose that severe, harsh sentence, or not sentence rather, but seek the charges of murder itself. But the state did attribute this latest move to prima facie evidence, which they believe is strong enough to convince the court that indeed Ayanda Dludla had a full intent of murdering these children. Now, in addition to this, Thabo, we've also seen the state bring forward 3 charges of attempted murder. These in relation, of course, to the 3 children who remain in hospital. Just to give you and the listener an update in terms of why we stand at these numbers and these charges. Initially, 12 people died on the spot when the scholar transport vehicle crashed into that side tipper truck, and then 5 were hospitalized, and this morning police confirmed the deaths of 2. So this bringing the total to 14, and the state then moved ahead, bringing forward those 14 counts of murder, and of course those 3 of attempted murder for the children that are in hospital. So it's really just a sort of confidence thing from the state side.
Mongezi, I know it's very, very early and perhaps we don't have sufficient information, but other than not having a PDP and public driving permit, do we know anything else about the accused, the 22-year-old Ayanda Dludla?
Well, all we understand at this stage is that he was employed by his father, and we do understand that his father is the owner of the taxi that he was using to transport these scholars. So it sort of seems like a family-run business. That's all we know at this stage. But I can also tell you that throughout proceedings, it's as though he was informed that there would be a lawyer representing him, a private lawyer. But of course, that lawyer wasn't present, and this then resulted in him opting for legal aid as a representative throughout the procedures. But of course, as time goes on, we'll sort of understand when he brings forward an affidavit regarding where he's from, how he gets his income, when he finished school, and all those different things.
The much capable Mongezi Koko, EWN reporter. Thanks very much. 26 minutes after 3.
Let's walk the talk.
702.
Thabiso Goba from EWN also joins us now to give us some more insight into another absurd story, if you'd like to look at in that way, where more than 600 people have taken refuge at the Rand Gate Community Hall in Rand West. This is close to Randfontein in the far west Mogale city. And several of the province's political and policing heads have arrived in the area this morning, and there were so many policemen there. Thabiso Goba covered this story for us to tell us about the story that involves Zamazamas and people having to take refuge in a hall running away from the gun-wielding Zamazamas. Welcome again, Thabiso. I hope you're good.
Good afternoon, Saba.
Give us a brief background in case someone else does not know much about the story. What happened? Why did the community have to take refuge in a hall?
Yes, so the Sporong informal settlement was established near a decommissioned mine. For a number of years, the residents here, they have sort of lived relatively peaceful with the illegal miners. But what has happened is that over the last couple of years, the illegal miners have sort of started not just going there for gold-bearing material, but also starting to rob and attack some of the residents. There's been stories, the residents we've spoken to, they've said, they've been attacked, some have been sexually abused, and some have also been, assaulted to a very serious degree that they landed up in hospital. About 2 weeks back, the residents, there was a gunfight between Zamazamas, and residents that had enough, they didn't feel safe. About 600 of them ran away, and fortunately the ward councillor took them to a local community hall, and they've been staying there for about over 2 weeks now.
And now we understand that the Gauteng government wants to relocate the residents and not deal with these criminals, supposedly.
Well, I mean, it is a two-pronged solution in terms of that. The Gauteng SAPS police commissioner, Tomim Tombeni, was there, and they said that they will be deploying the special task force that has a bit of experience with dealing with illegal mining and Zamazamas. As we know that, Thabo, it's not just Sporong or Randfontein, but illegal miners are everywhere in Gauteng. So they will be deploying that team. In Sporong, there will be 2 Nyalas stationed there and sort of a makeshift police station over the next 2 weeks just to ensure that the residents are safe. But then they will also be starting a reallocation process. So what we've heard from the Department of Human Settlements is that there was an audit done at Sporong in terms of people that qualify to go to RDP homes. So those people who've already been pre-approved, they'll go to RDP homes. Those people, maybe women, children, and older people who qualify to go to government shelters, they'll be taken to shelters. And then obviously there are those few people who want to return to Sporong. Now that's up to the police to ensure that it's safe for them to return. And there is obviously another group of people. Those are obviously undocumented foreign people. Now these people, obviously, because they're not South African citizens, they don't qualify for RDP homes or government shelter, and unfortunately the government can't do much for them except obviously to say that they can sort of go back to Sporong or find alternative accommodation. But what the government has said and what the police have said is that for those who are returning to Sporong, they're going to endeavor to ensure that the area is safe, and there will be obviously increased police visibility.
He always has his ears on the ground and gives us the very latest. Thabiso Goba, EWN reporter. Thanks very much, Thabiso. 3:30 on the dot. Mikey Mulapo are waiting to give us the Eyewitness News headlines. Good afternoon, Mikey.
Thanks, Tabo. Good afternoon. Various trade unions are gathered at the site of the Vanderbijl Park Scholar Transport accident for a candlelight prayer this afternoon. 12 learners lost their lives when the minibus taxi they were traveling in collided with a side tipper truck on Monday morning. 2 others have since died in hospital. The union members are calling for accountability, justice and concrete action to ensure the safety of learners. Jabuli Lembata has more.
Members of COSATU, SANGU and the South African Democratic Teachers Union and Progressive Women's Movement of South Africa are at the scene of the accident to pay their respects to the deceased school children. Mibone Kumani from the Progressive Women's Movement of South Africa says authorities must do more to ensure children are transported safely. She says those who are still in hospital must not give up and wish the healthcare workers strength.
Let the candles symbolize remembrance and responsibility. May their light carry our commitment to protect children, to stand with workers and their families, and to build communities where safety, care and justice prevail.
Komani also reiterated the union's support for the families affected. Jabuli Lembata, Eyewitness News.
The Special Investigating Unit has secured an order to interdict the pension of KwaZulu-Natal National Lotteries Commission official Bonelo Vilakazi. Vilakazi, who was a client liaison officer in that province, was found to have exploited his position to enable his wife to receive more than 31 million rand in grants from the NLC. The investigation is part of the SIU crackdown on corruption at the NLC. Khomotso Modise has more.
Bonelo Vilakazi, a former client liaison officer from the National Lotteries Commission KZN office, was found to have used his position to facilitate 48 payments in grants to his wife Nosipho Zuma, totaling 31.2 million rand. Investigations revealed that the funds, which were funneled through Zuma's company ZZET Enterprises, were used to buy luxury vehicles and properties. SIU spokesperson Kaiser Khanyago.
SIU investigators show that more than 400 care centers and football clubs made payments to accounts linked to Vilakazi and Zuma from the monies received from the NLC between 2019 and 2023.
In addition to Vilakazi's R500,000 rand pension being interdicted, previously the SIU obtained an order to freeze approximately 2.4 million rand held in 4 bank accounts linked to Vilakazi and Zuma. Khomotso Modise, Eyewitness News.
The Cape Flats Crime Crises Coalition has called on the Western Cape government to declare gang violence a provincial state of disaster. Western Cape Premier Alan Winde responded to the coalition today after it raised concerns about the Premier ignoring its plea while seeking the same declaration for drought and ongoing wildfires in the province. The coalition's concerns follow President Cyril Ramaphosa's weekly newsletter, where the president mentioned at least 26 people died in violence on the Cape Flats last weekend. Carla Peterson has more.
Cape Flats Crime Coalition chairperson Llewellyn McMaster says the ongoing violence in the Western Cape meets the legal definition of a disaster. McMaster says the coalition has written 3 letters to Western Cape Premier Alan Winde since November last year to address the situation.
What is deeply troubling for us is that the Western Cape government is willing to consider a provincial state of disaster for drought and wildfires, which we support, but not the same is being done for an ongoing human-made disaster that is killing many more people.
Winde has since responded saying crime prevention and law enforcement are national competencies, and he will be engaging with Acting Minister of Police Feroz Kachalia on the matter early next month. Carlo Peterson, Eyewitness News.
And South Korea has become the first country to enact a comprehensive law on the safe use of artificial intelligence. The Basic Act on the Development of Artificial Intelligence and the establishment of a foundation of trustworthiness officially took effect today. The law requires companies to give users advance notice when services or products use generative AI. Violations are punishable by a fine of up to more than $20,000. A look at your weather. It's a partly cloudy afternoon with isolated showers and thunder showers in Gauteng today. Temperatures are peaking at highs of between 25 and 28 degrees.
Edenville, slow-moving traffic on the R24 westbound. This is between Edenville Road and the Gilulis Interchange. Centurion traffic pressure on the R55. This is R55 Voortrekker Road approaching the N14.
The top story in Eyewitness News. Various trade unions are gathered at the site of the Vanderbijl Park Scholar Transport accident for a candlelight prayer this afternoon.
Clement Maniatella.
Weekday mornings,
9 to 12.
9 to 12.
Pitzap, what do you want to say about this fear around witchcraft? How do you live your life?
Clement, I want to tell my story. People always tell me, don't tell us about what they're doing because people will stand in front of them and do certain things before you. You know, I rolled with my car, but the car was fixed, it's fine. Do you remember there was a story of people buying lightning?
Buying lightning?
Yes,
From
yes,
who?
They buy lightning. They say in Marabastad it's 5 rand or something like that. Yes, it's an allegation. It's an allegation. Now, the late Professor Alusha, he went and investigated this thing.
And he found that you can buy lightning for 5 rand in a rubber stud.
Clement Maniatella.
9 to 12 on 702.
Stop and think. Will you survive the AI revolution or thrive? Regenesis students are thriving. 11 cutting-edge schools, 111 countries, world-class team of 1,111 with one mission, awakening your potential. Choose from law, business, technology, AI, health, economics, entrepreneurship, public management skills, academy, and digital Regenesis. Undergraduate, postgraduate, upskilling, customized corporate programs. The question isn't, can you afford to enroll? It's, can you afford not to? Enroll now. Regenesis.net. Achieve your dreams.
Life keeps getting busier. Parenting, shopping, working, exercising, just surviving. With all of that, who has time for anything else? That's why Netcare introduces Netcare Appointmed. Just tell us what you need, a specialist, GP or dentist, and we'll search our nationwide network of 5,000 doctors and find an appointment with a doctor who best suits your needs and medical aid. That's Netcare Appointmed on the Netcare app.
Team, summer is game time in Mzansi. Every tap, scan, swipe, it all adds up. And FNB is giving us big rewards, partner deals, e-bucks, defense tips, and chances to score experiences money can't buy. But you're only in the game if you pay with FNB. So stay sharp, spend clever, and let's dominate. Get in the game with FNB. Help changes everything. FNB, a division of First Rand Bank Limited, an authorized FSP and credit provider. NCRCP 20. T's and C's, earn rules and limits apply.
What happens when investment is driven by purpose? You build a legacy that lasts 30 years and counting. The Mine Workers Investment Company marks 3 decades of empowering mine workers and their families through smart, sustainable investment. Catch the Clement Maniatella Show in conversation with the MIC next week on 702. Find out how the 100% black-owned investment holding company has grown long-term cash-generative assets that fund education, social upliftment, and black business development across SA. That's the Clement Maniatella Show in conversation with the Mine Workers Investment Company next week on 702.
702.
WhatsApp us on 072 702 1702.
Afternoon, Tabo and team. Growing up, I was an introvert. I was very quiet. But now in my adult life, I'd say my persona flip-flops. You know, when I'm broke, I'm not outgoing. You know, I'm not loud. But when the pocket is fine, then I'm the friendliest person, loud, and all of that. Same in Alberton.
Afternoon, guys. Yes, I'm an intro extrovert depending on situation and the environment that I find myself in.
Every couple of months there's a disastrous taxi incident, taxi violence, you name it. We all have a big conversation and nothing gets done. So my guess is nothing will be done about this again.
Hi there, Sarah speaking. Just on the introvertedness, as far as I understood it, introverted means you're processing internally, whereas extroverted meant that you are processing externally. So you can be a loud introvert. It just means you think before you speak. And you can be a quiet extrovert. It just means that you think as you are expressing yourself.
Sure, but
that being said, I may be wrong.
No. It could also be the other way around. The converse could also apply, where you are a quiet introvert, as many people perceive it to be, and a loud extrovert as well. But I'm not dismissing what you're saying because I'm not necessarily an expert an expert on that particular subject, Sarah, but I absorbed that as well. And in case you've just joined us and you're wondering what is it that we're talking about, we asked earlier on about personalities, and Carl Jung, a great thinker, was suggesting that what you perceive to be your personality is not necessarily that, because inside all of us, we have a multiplicity of personalities. We can be loud, we can be quiet, we can be moderate. We choose to accentuate that which resonates with our environment and what best protects us. How we preserve ourselves in that instance determines the personality that we portray. So that's what we are talking about. And I asked you, what's your personality type? And has it changed over the years? I'd love to know from you on 072 702 1702.
EWN Sport.
Tolagele Mganga is joining us to give us the very latest in the world of sports. Over the holidays, we're eating, breathing, and always being exposed to the AFCON. Things have changed. Tolagele, good afternoon. Welcome.
Afternoon, Tabo. While Yannick Sinner, Stanislav Wawrinka, Novak Djokovic, Iga Swiatek and Madison Keys are just some of the big names who are through to the third round of the Australian Open. Naomi Osaka has also advanced following a frosty clash with Serena Christie, who accused Osaka of making noises while motivating herself. That's between her first and second serves.
I get that emotions were very high for her, and I also want to apologize. I think the first couple things that I said on the court was disrespectful, and I don't like disrespecting people. That's not what I do. If she wants to talk about it, then yeah, but like when I'm pumping myself up in my head, I'm not like, okay, and now I'm going to distract the other person. It's purely for me, so.
Liverpool took a big step towards automatic qualification for the UEFA Champions League last 16. This follows a 3-0 victory at Marseille. Arne Slot's men are now unbeaten in 13 matches and have climbed to 4th in the 36-team table and will secure a top 8 finish with a win over Karabakh next week.
Every time the same players have to play, or most of them the same players, then that could be maybe a reason where you run out of energy in some games where we've conceded. Because it is more than people understand. We're already 7-8 months in the season, and I don't think Virgil has had more than 3 days off. And it's the same for Ryan, and it's the same for all these players. But they constantly show up, they constantly show mentality, no matter how many setbacks we've had this season. And again, today they had we as a team had a very good performance.
The Pretoria Capitals secured their place in the SA20 final after a 7-wicket win over the Sunrisers Eastern Cape. Today, Paarl Royals play the Joburg Super Kings in a playoff, with the winner of that one set to face off with Sunrisers for a place in the final. James Vince and the Kings are looking to make it back-to-back wins over their Paarl opponents, following their victory on Monday.
Yeah, well, it's nice, obviously, coming into this game off the back of a win, as you say, against the same opposition. But, it's a new day, new game. As you say, new conditions. So what happened a couple of days ago in Paarl gives us a bit of confidence. We know tomorrow's going to be a different challenge against a good side. So we'll have to make some adjustments there. But yeah, certainly, that win came at a good time. Obviously, we needed to win. And I think the belief and confidence is back within the group.
And Bangladesh have announced that they will not travel to India to play in next month's T20 World Cup, effectively ruling the country out of the tournament. Their refusal comes a day after the ICC rejected their plea to play its games in Sri Lanka instead. That's due to safety concerns. Tolagele Mganga, Eyewitness News Sport.
EWN Traffic.
With Garabo Chali, what does it look like on our roads? Garabo, good afternoon again.
Afternoon, Tabo. Well, at this stage, slow-moving traffic in the Edenville area that's heading towards Bedford View, R24 westbound between Edenville Road and the Kilulis interchange. In Germiston, we've received a voice note that apparently there's a stationary truck causing some delays in that area. Garabo?
Hello, team. This is a traffic notice. There's a contract truck hire truck, articulated truck, that's stuck in the middle of the intersection at corner of Barbara Road and Craft Road in Olmsted Park in Germiston, which is causing a huge traffic hassle.
Thanks for that heads up. You can keep them coming. Please WhatsApp us on 072-702-1702 in Centurion. Traffic is also sluggish. This is on the R55 Voortrekker Road, approaching the N14. I'll have your next Eyewitness News traffic update just after 4.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
You're now listening to 702 Afternoon Drive with John Perlman. Brought to you by Telkom Business. Possibility begins here.
702 Podcast
On PrimeMediaPlus.com.
Standing in for John, Thabo Sholemashao, together with you all the way to 6 o'clock, 15 to 4. Thanks for joining us. And keep those comments coming through on 011-883-0702. That's if you'd like to speak us directly. Alternatively, you can just deposit your voice notes to 072-702-1702. That would be highly appreciated to hear what you have to say about a number of things that we spoke about, including that horrific Scholar Transport accident, and a number of you have been opining on that, and some of you are suggesting that the officials are very reactionary. All of a sudden today, after that accident, authorities have erected roadblocks and they're stopping cars, impounding vehicles, and life has come to a standstill where people's businesses are affected. Were you waiting for this to happen? When was this action going to be taken? But also a very unpopular, I suppose, viewpoint that has come through from Mr. Dumiso in the Val. He's suggesting that actually, why do other people have to be inconvenienced? And by this reactionary action from the government. Why all of a sudden now, even those who are obeying the law must be inconvenienced as a result of this? I'd love to hear from you more about that. And as I said, feel free to send your voice notes through 1324.
702
Let's walk the talk on 90.7
and 106 FM.
Some people think she is loud and happy. Some people think she is somewhat reserved. I had thought of her as Mamfundisi, but Tolagele is many other things. Tolagele, welcome. And the reason why I'm saying all these things now is because we are asking a question around personalities. What is your personality type, and has it always been that? Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Thabo. Definitely grew up as an introvert. I spent a lot of, because also I come from a family of very loud and entertaining and center of the room sort of people. So it took a while for me to find my feet. So that's why I grew up as an introvert.
Yeah.
But over time, I think I still revert to that when I first meet someone, and then once I'm comfortable, I become an extrovert. But there was a guy who said when they don't have money, they keep to themselves. Same.
Yeah.
When I'm quiet and minding my business, just know my finances are not coming together, and then there's no time for laughter.
No, now I know. But did you visibly notice the change, moving from one to the other?
I knew because I went to Germiston High, where especially Lokshin schools, there's kids with lots of personalities.
Yes.
And I realized very early on from grade 8, where I was just like, you're not as ready to do things and jumping into those things. But then once I kind of found my crew who made me feel comfortable and were always calling out my favorite parts of myself, then I was like, okay, I can do things differently. But then also when you become an adult, you also don't want to be the first time you meet me, and then next thing, there's no chance of a friendship.
Yes.
So it's also, as the years go by, I normally start a new decade a little slow. And then in the middle of it, I find my people. And then if I lose my people, I kind of have to start again.
Go back.
But it's always, for me, I always just say, generally, I am an introvert. I'm very reserved. Once I'm comfortable, then you'll be that's my girl.
Karabo, now do you see it differently, or do you still stick to your guns that there are people who are born like that? Actually, we are not only influenced by the externalities. There are people who are born quiet or very loud. That's just how you are.
Yeah, no, definitely. When you were saying has your personality changed along the years, mine has certainly changed.
Really?
Yes. I've in the school years, I was a very quiet kid. And very reserved. But as I grew, I realized I found my personality, I found myself, and I kind of found my voice. So I realized that.
We missed that old Garabo, by the way.
No, actually, he was a bit boring. Trust me. He was not outspoken, and he didn't know how to express himself loudly. So now I've learned to do that, and I enjoy it.
So situations, circumstances, your exposure helped you to change.
Yes, no, definitely.
And people around you,
yes,
of course.
No, definitely.
Well, we were talking earlier on about your personality type, where one of the great thinkers, Carl Jung, was saying that actually you've got multiple personalities inside of you. You choose to express the one that best protects you for survival purposes. 10 minutes to 4.
For more about 702,
Go to primemediaplus.com.
The police have confirmed the fatal shooting in Tabankulu, the one that has been in the news. And as I opened the show, I expressed this to you as well. And they have released a statement stating that in Tabankulu, they are investigating a fatal shooting that occurred earlier today. And obviously on the 22nd of January, this is at Tabankulu Primary School. It was alleged that approximately at about 12 midday, a former teacher of the school who was out on bail for sexual assault, charged with involving learners, forcibly gained entry to the premises by cutting through the perimeter fence. But Brigadier Nobuntu Kantana is here to give us more on this. And Brigadier is spokesperson for SAPS in Eastern Cape. Brigadier, thanks for your time. Welcome to 702. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Kabo, to you and your listeners.
We're starting off on a bad note, of course, and please share a little bit more information about this horrendous shooting that took place at Tabankulu.
It is quite a sad ordeal indeed. What actually happened is that at about 12 midday today, police were called to a crime scene at Tabankulu Primary School, where it is alleged that the former teacher of the school, who was out on bail for sexual assault charges that are involving learners, forcibly gained entry to the school, and he then proceeded to the school kitchen where he opened fire on 3 educators, and then he shot and killed himself. So one educator was declared deceased at the scene, and we have 2 others that are currently receiving medical treatment. The former teacher, which is the suspect, also, since he shot himself, he was also declared deceased at the scene.
And I'm sure it's very early yet, but what do we know about the deceased and the perpetrator of this horrendous act? Do we have any information on him as to when was he at the school last, and anything that could perhaps assist you to establish the motive?
At this point, that forms part of the investigation. We are, because it's still an active crime scene. Our forensic experts are actually still at the crime scene. So all of that information in terms of his full identity and when last he was at the school and all of that will also form part of our full investigation as well.
And would you, in that part of the world, this is not ordinary at all, I'd like to believe. Have you had similar incidents in the past?
We have, in as much as crime is quite prevalent all over South Africa, but we have not had a similar incident, especially on that part of the province.
The families have been informed, especially those of the perpetrator, I'd like to believe. Any news, any developments from them?
At the moment, we do not have any news in terms of the families, but they have been informed because when I was speaking to the investigating officer, he was on his way to the local clinic where the 2 educators were to actually visit them and also just to check on their well-being and take further statements from them.
Is it only teachers who are affected by this and learners not involved?
There were no learners that were injured during this incident, but we are looking at, because even though there won't be any physical injuries, but such an incident would of course cause some psychological impact on the learners.
Any news about community involvement in issues such as safety around such schools, Brigadier, if you know? And I know that this is very early and it's just a shocker to everyone else, but I would understand that in some schools you would have security that is stationed there. Any news of any security or community safety team that could have patrolled, or do you also have any plans to have more visibility on the ground?
At this point in time, I would not be privy to such information because this is still an active crime scene. But as the SAPS, we do work closely with our communities and with our schools to ensure that our learning facilities are safe for our learners.
So I'm just thinking that you'll increase perhaps the presence from now on, reacting to this incident.
Yes, increasing police visibility forms part of our SAPS strategy, not only at the Ndabangulu school, but it is something that we do at all our schools and around the province and nationally as well, where we ensure that we work closely with the schools, we work closely with the communities to ensure that not only the schools, but that our communities in general are also safe.
Brigadier, thanks very much for your time and thanks for speaking to us. It's very difficult to know what to say at a time like this, but we wish the family some bit of comfort. Thanks for chatting to us on 702.
Thank you so much, Thabo.
Brigadier Nobuntu Kantana, spokesperson of the SAPS in Eastern Cape, 3 minutes to 4.
Africa Milani.
Weekday mornings,
4 to 6.
The repo rate is sitting at 6.75%. The Monetary Policy Committee will meet next week to review it. What are you anticipating will happen? Are they going to hold the current rate or will they increase it by however many basis points?
We are seeing these really scary changes globally. They have some reason to hold and just look through some of these global anticipated movements. We are watching some of the dynamics that are happening between Europe and the US and the rest of the world. We might see then such certain changes.
Kandibai is an economist and strategist.
Africa Milani.
4 to 6 on 702.
The festive rush doesn't wait. Orders, deliveries, messages, calls. This summer, you'll need connectivity that doesn't tap out when the pressure is on. With Telkom Business, you get reliable, high-speed connectivity for just $2.99 per month. That's our unlimited LTE, all hours basic plan, 10 megabytes per second. No caps, no excuses.
This summer, your business deserves the best. Visit telkom.co.za/business for deals that grow your business. T's and C's apply. Telkom Business. Possible begins here.
To live wealthier, you need to be able to grow your assets. At Standard Bank Private, you get a team of internationally acclaimed financial experts to advise you on local and global investment strategies. Plus, being with a leader in home loans, you can start expanding your property portfolio. So, come live wealthier with Africa's best private bank. Apply online at standardbank.co.za. Standard Bank is an authorized FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
Driving the conversation on 702 Afternoon Drive with John Perlman. Powered by Telkom Business. Possibility begins here.
For more about 702,
go to primemediaplus.com.
Feel free to send your voice notes, your text messages, and even call us on any of the issues that we have just raised. And we're speaking to Brigadier Kantana about that fatal school shooting in Tabankulu primary school in the Eastern Cape. Quite sad, where an educator, 2 other educators have sustained injury and 1 educator was declared dead at the scene after one of the former staffers from that particular school opened fire. Really terrible news. Any other issue that you'd like to raise, feel free to do so on 072 702 1702. And has your personality changed over the years? We asked a little bit earlier on. And what made you change your personality or what you perceive to be your personality? 072 702 1702. A little after 4, we will speak to Baba Londenze about the ad hoc committee that is currently speaking to Julius Mkhwanazi, the former or suspended deputy chief at Ekurhuleni. Exactly 4 o'clock on the dot.
This is EWN.
Eastern Cape Police probe school shooting and suspended EMPD chief gives insight into his brotherly relationship with murder accused Matlala. Good afternoon, I'm Maki Malapo. We begin with news just in from the Eastern Cape, where police are investigating a fatal shooting that claimed the lives of 2 people at Ntabakulu Primary School in Zwelitsha. It's alleged that a former teacher of the school, who was out on bail for sexual assault charges involving learners, gained entry into the premises and opened fire on 3 educators, killing 1 and injuring the other 2. The suspect then proceeded to turn the gun on himself and was declared dead at the scene. Police spokesperson Brigadier Nobuntu Ngandana.
A former teacher of the school forcibly gained entry to the premises by cutting through the perimeter fence. The suspect proceeded directly to the school kitchen, where he opened fire on 3 educators. A full investigation into the circumstances of the attack is underway, including the suspect's breach of bail conditions.
We move to the National Assembly, where suspended Ekurhuleni Metro Police Deputy Chief Julius Mkhwanazi says he developed a brotherly relationship with alleged crime kingpin Vusmusi Cat Matlala after meeting him to discuss business. Mkhwanazi says he first met Matlala through members of his Cat VIP security companies while discussing security-related matters in 2022 before their relationship developed to friendship. Mkhwanazi was responding to questions about his close links to Matlala while testifying before the ad hoc committee investigating police corruption in Parliament today. Babalo Ndenza has more.
Julius Mkhwanazi, after giving the committee his employment background, was questioned about his relationship with Vusumuzi Cat Matlala. Mkhwanazi is alleged to have been paid by Matlala and provided his personal vehicles with police blue lights. Evidence leader Bongiwe Mkhize.
What I'm still interested in your statement is this closeness in relationship, this brotherly relationship as you describe it. And I'm trying to understand what actually informed it.
Mkhwanazi says their brotherly relationship developed over time after the State of the City address in 2022.
But after the State of the City, after April, that's where we started to communicate and discuss about other issues, personal things, and all those things, you see.
Mkhwanazi says Matlala would also later question him about business and where his companies could benefit. Babalo Ndenze, Eyewitness News, Parliament.
The state believes the driver in the Vanderbijl Park Scholar Transport case intentionally rammed his vehicle into a truck, killing 14 learners. The allegation marks a major turn in a case that has shocked the country, with prosecutors now arguing that the crash was not an accident but a deliberate act. 22-year-old Ayanda Dludla appeared briefly before the Vanderbijl Park Magistrates Court today. He faces 14 counts of murder, 3 of attempted murder and a charge of reckless and negligent driving, among others. Mungezi Koko has more.
Prosecutors told the court they would be relying on witness statements, forensic evidence and expert analysis to argue that Ayanda Dludla's actions meet the legal standards for murder rather than culpable homicide. Prosecutors say the decision to escalate the charges are based on evidence suggesting intent, which could see Dludla face life in prison if convicted. NPA spokesperson Lumka Mahanjana.
There's enough evidence to prove the charge of murder. You must understand the charge of culpable homicide is a lighter charge as compared to murder. However, the evidence that is in the docket proves that there was intention, hence the charge is now murder.
The matter has been postponed to the 5th of March for further investigation as families of the victims continue to seek answers and justice. Mongi Ziko, Eyewitness News, Vanderbijl Park.
Some West Rand residents who were driven away from their homes allegedly by Zamazamas say they are cautiously optimistic following a visit by government officials. Over the past 2 weeks, more than 600 people from the Sporong informal settlement have been sleeping at the Randgate Community Hall in the west of Johannesburg. Today, they were visited by senior officials from the Gauteng government. Tabiso Goba has more.
But it's for 7 days, until we clear everything again.
There was cheering and loud sighs of relief when Gauteng Premier Panyaza Lesufi told the displaced residents they will be relocated in 7 days. Emma Moseti, who lives in the hall with her 2-year-old toddler, says she hopes the promises made today will be kept.
At least by intervening.
We are happy because they have intervened. They ignored us for a long time, so it's encouraging that they came here and heard our complaints directly.
One of the community leaders, Tembela Konjwa, says he hopes no one is left behind when the reallocation process starts.
If they are starting to allocate, it's a good thing.
Yes, we are looking for houses. But the problem is that within 7 days, yes, they will allocate those who have already approved. What about those who are still waiting for subsidies? What about those who have not yet registered? What are they going to do with them?
The Department of Human Settlement has already set up a makeshift workstation at the hall and recording the details of the displaced people. Thabiso Koba, Eyewitness News, Randwest.
And a preliminary report into a plane crash in Libya has found that both engines were working when it hit a hillside. The military jet carrying the country's top brass, killing all on board, went up in flames shortly after impact on December 23rd. Investigators say the impact generated such high kinetic energy that the rocky terrain could not absorb it, causing the aircraft to disintegrate, scattering wreckage over around 150 square meters. The report has not drawn a conclusion on the cause of the crash, with the final report due after further technical examinations and analysis of the flight recorder data. Gold's trading at $4,824.28 an ounce. The rand's at 16.21 to the dollar, at 21.76 to the pound, at 18.99 to the euro. Brent crude oil's at $64.30 a barrel.
Edenvale traffic remains sluggish. This is on the R24 westbound between Edenvale Road and the Gilulis interchange. Germiston also stationary truck. This is at the intersection of Barbara and Croft Road, causing heavy delays. Hermanstad, Pretoria. Slow-moving traffic leaving the CBD. This is on Eskiam Pahlele between the R80 and Vomhagen.
In your sport, Novak Djokovic, Madison Keys and Naomi Osaka through to the third round of the Australian Open. Liverpool closed in on UEFA Champions League last 16 berth. And Bangladesh refused to go to India for the T20 World Cup.
A look at your weather. Partly cloudy skies in store for Gauteng with isolated afternoon thunder showers expected tomorrow. Joburg and Pretoria will both drop to overnight lows of 14 degrees and peak at highs of 30. Vereeniging's at 15 and 31 degrees. The top story in Eyewitness News this hour. Police are investigating a fatal shooting that claimed 2 lives at Ntabankulu Primary School in Zwelitsha in the Eastern Cape.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
702.
Live
on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856,
92.7
and 106 FM. Let's walk the talk.
Eight minutes after 4 o'clock. Welcome back. The second lap of the show. It ends at 6. My name is Thabo Shole Mashau. I'm standing in for John Perlman. We're together till then. Happy to have you with us as usual. And in this hour, we will speak to Baba Londenze of EWN. We want to find out how the ad hoc committee has been going as far as the testimony of Julius Mkhwanazi, controversially suspended deputy chief in the city of Ekurhuleni. He's making a second round to some of these entities. You remember, initially he was at the Matlanga Commission. He didn't create a great impression of himself there, but now it's the turn of Parliament to question him on related matters. How did you find that? Keep us posted. But Babalwa will give us an insider's view on what the key issues that came out were. I asked you earlier on to give us a call on 011-883-0702, and I see William has done that. William, I'll come to you in a second, but first let me just take us to the voice notes that I've been neglecting on various issues that we've touched on. Welcome to the show. Feel free to participate on 072-702-1702.
702.
Let's walk the talk on 92.7
and 106 FM.
Hello, Thabo. I was listening to your story about the Sporong informal settlement in Randfontein. Now, my question is, when the government says that they'll take some of them to RDP houses if they choose to do so, how long will that process take? Because I presume that a lot of people will choose RDP houses over staying in an informal settlement. But how long will that take? We already have a backlog of people who are waiting for social housing. In fact, if they check their records, they'll probably find that the same residents of Sporong are also on the waiting list for RDP houses. They probably applied for RDP houses years ago and they've been waiting. So how about the RDP houses? When will these RDP?
Hi, Thabo, Nani here. Interesting conversation. Some of us are actually ambiverts.
So we enjoy the social interaction and the party and
Yes.
having fun and laughter and loudness, but we do require moments of solitude to just re-energize again.
Come on, guys. The emperor wears no clothes. Literally, we know that 80% of the SAPS is in the pocket of cartels. You look at JMPD taking bribes all the time. Stand on Jan Smuts. Look at all the taxis that come past. Half of them are roadworthy, yet still they're on the road. Why? The only reason why, because they're paying backhanders and the guys are getting off scot-free. Look at the stuff that's coming out of City Deep. These buckies are overloaded completely, make it all the way to their destination. The main road to Mozambique, same thing. Yet that's all you see. It's these overloaded vehicles and buckies, unroadworthy cars.
Yeah, I mean, this is very concerning, and thanks for those voice notes that came on 0727021702. You're asking a very critical question about the matter in the West Rand informal settlement where all this has taken place, and residents have to now be accommodated, running away, fleeing away from the wrath of the Zamazamas, have to be accommodated at a community hall, and the government of Gauteng at least said they will place them in various RDP homes, social homes are in and around. And you're asking a question that, how long will that take? And why were they waiting all along? And some of the people from that informal settlement are on the list. The backlogs are crazy. The backlogs are crazy as far as social housing is concerned. And how long will it take? It can't be an easy process. In the meantime, what happens? And we'll put that question and many others to the authority. And you're saying, the last one, the last voice note expressing vividly that, a number of police officials may be corrupt and there's no light at the end of the tunnel. I don't want us to throw our hands in the air. I want us to keep fighting. I would like to urge us to keep fighting. And I'm not sure about those numbers, about 90% of the cops being corrupt. I'd like to believe that there are many who are doing their very best. If they were not, our jails wouldn't be this full. Yes, we must hold them accountable. And I'm not protecting the cops at all, the police. They know that I'm the first to scream and shout where I see incompetence. I'm subjected to some of that, and recently I was as well. But nonetheless, many of the cops are very, very efficient. They do their jobs. I wouldn't want us to demoralize them and put a wet blanket on every single individual. Those that are corrupt must be dealt with. But those that are doing their jobs, let's not assume it's every cop, but equally so, we must demand accountability. I absorb all of that. So I'm not taking anything away. I'm just adding. Speaking of calls, William is calling from Edenvale. William, hi. Welcome to 702. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Tabu. Thank you for taking my call.
Thanks for calling.
With regard to the Scholar Patrol tragedy, I'd like to put a call out to reputable law firms to step up to the plate and assist these families with any claims they may have against the Road Accident Fund, so that they aren't ripped off or taken advantage of by unscrupulous lawyers, attorneys. I'm sure they will have claims against the Road Accident Fund.
William, you're raising another angle, and that many of us have been blind to, I suppose, because of the immediacy of the situation. It just took place recently, but you are asking us to cast our eyes further into the future. Yes, I'm sure they will go through processes of road accident funds, and your appeal is very valid. And if I'm hearing you correctly, you'll correct me, William, if I'm not representing your views well. You are saying that law firms and other interested individuals must help these bereaved families to put up proper claims and to follow up on that and to assist them in any possible legal ways to make sure that they at least get fair compensation from the claims that they will be putting up with Road Accident Fund. Is that right, William?
That's correct, Tabu, because you guys, 702, have run stories previously where unscrupulous lawyers, attorneys have taken taken advantage of people,
Yeah. And there may be vultures waiting on the side to jump onto this situation. And I love your call for that. And you are saying that let the upright law firms jump in and walk the talk, as we always say on 702, and help these families of these 14 deceased children. William, thanks for that. Thanks for appealing to our conscience. 15 after 4.
EWN Traffic.
Speaking of roads, Mr. Charlie will tell us what's the latest, which roads to avoid and which to take. EWN Traffic is brought to you by Outsurance. SMS out to 45142 now. You could save on car insurance. If you don't, ask them for 500 rands. Mr. Charlie?
Yeah, I must say, Thabo, it's not looking too bad on our roads. No accidents have been reported. However, it is peak hour traffic, so you can already expect some delays. This is driving through Alex, Edenville, heading towards Bedfordview, N3 southbound. Between Morafontein Road and the Kilulis interchange. In Germiston, we still have that stationary truck at the intersection of Barbara and Croft Road causing delays. And in Hermanstad, slow-moving traffic on Eskiam Pachela between Vormhagen and the R80. If you come across any other traffic issues, please WhatsApp us on 072-702-1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app. The Outsurance pointsmen know that every car on the road carries a story. Like a businesswoman on the way to the airport after sleeping through her alarm. Bags in the back, boarding pass on the dashboard. She prays she'll make her flight.
Hope I make it.
The Outsurance pointsmen know it's not just a car in traffic, it's the potential closing of a big deal. Every story's different and every story matters. That's why the Outsurance pointsmen have been doing what they do since 2005 in proud partnership with 702. Outsurance is a licensed insurer and FSP.
Got big dreams for 2026? New goals, new adventures, new car? Don't wait. Let's jumpstart your January with up to 75,000 Rand cashback when you buy selected quality pre-owned cars from participating Motor Select dealerships nationwide. Don't wait for life to happen. Make it happen with Motor Select. Deal ends Saturday, 24 January. Hurry to motorselect.co.za now. T's and C's apply.
Running a business can feel like a solo mission. I mean, you've got the hustle. If only your office Wi-Fi was your employee of the month. Turn on your success with Telkom Business, the partner that always shows up. Get a reliable 25 by 25 megabytes per second connection with Stream Connect Fiber for only 489 rands per month.
This summer, your business deserves the best. Visit telkom.co.za/business for deals that connect your business. T's and C's apply. Telkom Business. Possible begins here.
Ready for a learning experience of a lifetime? Join Richfield's nationwide open day every day this week, including Saturday. Tour our state-of-the-art campuses and find your perfect fit with our range of qualifications. From higher certificates and diplomas to degrees, postgraduate programs, and our MBA. Visit richfield.ac.za for more. Richfield, your future enriched.
The Money Show.
Weekday evenings at 6.
Sometimes wonder how important the competition between all of our retailers is, and Trade Intelligence saying that the promotions and discounting used by retailers is running out of room. Nicola Allen is a senior analyst at Trade Intelligence.
Yes, we are seeing a point, possibly maybe not this year, that there's going to run out of room to discount further because the stores are just blanketed with promotions. We're looking at 25 to 35% in South Africa.
The Money Show
on 702. Let's walk the talk.
The Money Show with Stephen Grootes is brought to you by ABSA CIB. That's how we're invested in your story. Your story matters. ABSA is a registered FSP.
Stay with 702 Afternoon Drive with John Perlman. Brought to you by Telkom Business. Possibility begins here.
For more about 702,
go to primemediaplus.com.
19 minutes after 4 o'clock, Thabo Sholemashao in for John Perlman. We're together till 6. Thanks for staying with us, and I do appreciate your feedback. I see your text messages, your voice notes that we've played, and more, and I will keep reflecting on your views. That's what matters the most to us. And if anything happens in and around, feel free to also get in touch. We'd love to hear from you on 072 702 1702. Suspended Ekurhuleni Metro Police Deputy Chief Julius Mkhwanazi, the very controversial. He started his testimony before Parliament's ad hoc committee. And one revealing a development was that he confirmed his links to Vusimusi Cat Matlala. Babalwa Ndenze has been following this very closely, and he's got all those details for us. Babalwa, great chatting to you in 2026. I hope you're well. Welcome.
How are you doing?
Babalwa, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Oh, now I can. Julius Mkhwanazi, obviously with all those controversies, we understand that he did confirm his links to Vusimusi Cat Matlala. Please say more on that.
Yes, he did, take the committee back to when he first encountered Vusimusi Cat Matlala, which was really through one of Cat Matlala's associates or business partners, a Mike van Wyk, from the Medicare 24 company that Matlala is also part of. And, that's basically when they first met. And this was, years ago. This is about 2020. And when he first learned of Cat Matlala, this was before meeting him. He says he saw pictures on the wall at the offices of Medicare 24 in Boksburg, and that's when he actually first saw who Cat Matlala was. But before that, he had no idea who Cat Matlala was. And, he actually ended up meeting him personally after he met with, or the officials within his unit in the Metro Police had met with Cat VIP personnel, which is Cat Matlala's company. And they told him or told his members that, in fact, Cat Matlala also owns Medicare 24, which is the company that you previously visited. And that's how he learned that Cat Matlala also owns a security company. And, this goes back to 2022. And this was really when their brotherly relationship started, to quote the committee directly, was really in April 2022. And this was just at the time of the State of the City address in Ekurhuleni. And he says, this was also a time when they started to develop now a relationship outside of the business where they started talking about personal issues and they exchanged phone numbers. So he did confirm that as much. And he says, this brotherly relationship really developed over some time after they met. And then he even communicated issues that are personal. He says that he had, quite a few bereavements in 2022 that he spoke to Matlala about. He said he lost his siblings later on in that year, and they spoke about these personal things, and they never really discussed politics or anything, according to Mkhwanazi. So their relationship really started off as a business interaction, which slowly developed into a personal relationship, where he even at some point, was even given money by Cat Matlala, and he testified as much at the Madlanga Commission, and is also responding to similar questions now before the Portfolio Committee.
Did you find any consistencies or inconsistencies in his testimony? I was just about to ask, in comparison to the Madlanga Commission. Also, given that the money issue had come as a very glaring matter in that instance, and how money exchanged hands, the amounts at times embarrassingly so, that may have influenced some of the decisions that he took in his official capacity as the now suspended deputy chief.
Well, his testimony has been, quite consistent with what he said at the Madlanga Commission. But as far as payments are related, they haven't reached that point yet. It's really the relationship, with Cat Matlala, but as far as the blue lights, police blue lights that he provided for Matlala's vehicles, but he's quite consistent, Thabo, in his denial or in his denial that he actually provided these blue lights. He says he also denied this at Madlanga, if you remember. He also says this a bit earlier, that, this whole blue light saga, he was not aware of any blue lights or any branded vehicles belonging to Cat Matlala. He says this was, a setup by some members within the Metro Police that were against him. And he says, this was a character assassination attempt against him. So he's denying, he's continuing that denial that he denied at the Madlanga Commission late last year. And he's saying that those blue lights, he has no idea how those blue lights came about. He had nothing to do with any blue lights. The member Kusela Sangune from the ANC really questioning, Mkhwanazi on how would, this blue light matter just come around if you did not actually take part in it? But he continues his denial, saying that, the blue lights are set up. I never, offered any company, whether it's a security company belonging to Kat Matlala or anyone else, any blue lights. So he's quite consistent when it comes to denying these allegations against him. There was also the other serious allegation, if you remember, Thabo, about, disposing of a dead body.
Yes.
And now this dead body, he says that, it was one of the witnesses at the Matlanga Commission that was also, eventually killed in front of his house, is the witness that mentioned these dead bodies or the disposal of this dead body. He's also denying this, and he's saying that, in fact, he's accusing the late person or the late witness that, in fact, if anyone had anything to do with disposing of any dead bodies or having any things of that nature, it was the witness, not me, or it had nothing to do with him personally. And he says, that the witness who linked him to disposing of dead bodies was also involved in, other incidents in the illegal mining, issues around Ekurhuleni. And he's saying that, he was also part of other conspiracies or other issues that had to do with dead people. So he's also denying the links to disposing of any dead bodies, which came up quite a lot at the Matlanga Commission. So just to sum up his testimony, is actually quite similar to his testimony at the Matlanga Commission, but he's a little more relaxed now. He's less nervous. If you remember, he was quite nervous at Matlanga, but here he seems quite relaxed. He's going through his own statement. He's reading through paragraphs from his statement, and he seems well prepared. He's not accompanied by any lawyers or any support team. So it looks like he's going to stick by his story from the Matlanga Commission as far as denying any of these allegations. But he did admit that he did receive cash from Matlala because, they were having this brotherly relationship, and these amounts were to help him when he was under suspension for a few months, I think 3 months. He was suspended, and he's saying that, his overtime had also stopped coming in and was short of cash. And Matlala would also assist in things like groceries, and the amounts he mentions are in the hundreds, to the thousands. So I think those details are still going to come up in more detail as the questions from the members are starting to come in, Thabo.
I've got about 20 seconds, Babala. Did his links to to Imogen Mashazi, the former city manager at the city of Ekurhuleni, also come out? And what was glaring about that, if it came out at all?
No, the Mashazi message has not come out, but it was mentioned, during the morning session when he was giving background around his appointment, because it was Mashazi who was the municipal manager when he was appointed to the deputy and when he was appointed acting, and he mentioned her in that context. But as far as their relationship professionally is concerned, the ANC's chief whip, Dumiseni Ntuli, making it quite clear, giving a disclaimer that the evidence is going to be quite limited, and their questions will be limited to just these things about Kat Matlala, and they won't be too broad as to involve other people like Imogen Mashazi, for example.
Sure. They're always precision-driven, Babala Ndenze, giving us the very latest from the ad hoc committee in Cape Town Parliament. 28 after 4.
EWN Business.
I was just about to say he's back, but I'm the one who's really back.
Yes. Where have you been?
Stephen, welcome. You good?
I'm good, thank you, Thabo. Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm chilled, man. I'm free. I'm happy to see you. And I've just been reading up on some of the stocks that were going up. I thought I would just throw one at you, but I forgot everything else that I read up. So give us your bulletin.
Okay. Well, the JSE All Share up 0.7%, 121,626 points. Stronger currency for much of the day as well. Gold slightly weaker. Financials are up 2.43%. Industrials up 1.42%. Resources down 1.42% because Trump said yesterday he wouldn't use force to take Greenland, and that's pushed the gold price slightly lower. Platinum kind of roughly where it was, I suppose, but I think gold shares pulling things down quite significantly. Clicks trading update just out, that having an impact as well. So Anglo Gold down nearly 6%, Gold Fields down nearly 5%, DLD Gold down nearly 4%. Clicks down 5.7%. They had a quarterly trading update. This was for the first 20 weeks of their financial year. So to the 11th of January, group turnover up 7.4%, retail sales up 6%, pharmacy turnover up 9%. That said, I think that people were expecting a little bit more from them. And Glencore's down 2% on the day as well. Sasol Big day for Sasol. They're up 11.56%. They said they were expecting to sell more fuel in the current financial year to the end of June. They're expecting to sell between 5 and 10% more compared to last year because the Natref refinery is performing better than expected. They've also been able to report important progress in their coal mining section. Tabo, you'll have heard me in the past talk about their de-stoning plant. What that means is they've got that online, so they can use lower quality coal. They can mine lower quality coal, put it through the de-stoning plant, takes the stones out, and as a result, they're getting money from sections of mines that they own they weren't able to get money from before.
And that's a very important one, especially the coal story there, because you would need a wash plant, you need to screen, you need to crush, and all those elements contribute to it. And Eskom, I'm told that it pays about 550 rands per ton of coal, depending on the quality, of course, because it varies. It can go all the way to 380. And we still need coal.
Indeed. Yes, and I mean, that's where a lot of our fuel comes from at the moment, and that's, of course, what Sasol is using it for. MTN is up 7%, Coronation up 6.48%, Trueworth's up 4.82%, Sanlam up 4.24%, and then some of the platinum miners doing nicely, and Discovery up 3% on the day. Nedbank shares, they were down slightly last time I checked. They confirmed last night they're making that 14 billion rand offer for the Kenyan bank, NCBA. Standard Bank had actually been looking at that. Really? It does look, though, that Nedbank has sort of got there first. In the US, indices opening around now, but futures have been slightly higher today, and that, I think, was really, and we saw that yesterday towards the end of the session. That's after Donald Trump sort of scaled back the idea of taking Greenland by force. NATO lives for now. The gold price, $4,822.03 an ounce. Platinum, $2,510.36. Brent crude, $64.32. The rand to the dollar, 16.21. Was 16.16 earlier.
Wow.
To the euro, 18.99. To the British pound, 21.78. Stephen Curtis, EWN Business.
And he'll be back with you momentarily. For now, Mikey will give us the very latest on Eyewitness News headlines. Good afternoon, Mikey.
Thanks, Tabo. Good afternoon. The South African Jewish Board of Deputies has slammed the appointment of Thapelo Ahmad as MMC for Community Development in the Johannesburg City Council. It says the appointment sends a troubling message to Johannesburg residents that violence and hate speech are acceptable. 2 years ago, Ahmad took to social media to show his support for Hamas and posted himself carrying a rifle. The South African Human Rights Commission ruled that his posts crossed the line from political expression to unlawful hate speech. SAJBD spokesperson Sharissa Zayfert.
For the city of Johannesburg to appoint someone guilty of hate speech and someone who has refused to adhere to their ruling is appalling. The role of MMC for community development requires a person who adheres to the values of intercommunal respect, social cohesion, and the protection of all residents regardless of their background.
Various trade unions are gathered at the site of the Vanderbijl Park Scholar Transport accident for a candlelight prayer this afternoon. 12 learners lost their lives when the minibus taxi they were travelling in collided with a side tipper truck on Monday morning. 2 others have since died in hospital. The union members are calling for accountability, justice and concrete action to ensure the safety of learners. Jabuli Lembata has more.
Members of COSATU, SANGU and the South African Democratic Teachers Union and Progressive Women's Movement of South Africa are at the scene of the accident to pay their respects to the deceased school children. Miponi Kumani from the Progressive Women's Movement of South Africa says authorities must do more to ensure children are transported safely. She says those who are still in hospital must not give up and wish the healthcare workers strength.
Let the candles symbolize remembrance and responsibility. May their light carry our commitment to protect children, to stand with workers and their families, and to build communities where safety, care, and justice prevail.
Komani also reiterated the union's support for the families affected. Jabuli Lembata, Eyewitness News.
The Freedom Front Plus says it's time for parties in the government of national unity to take a stand against the ANC's foreign policy being passed off in national statements as a collective position. Party leader Corné Mulder says the responses issued by the Department of International Relations on geopolitical matters can have grave economic impacts for ordinary South Africans. Mulder says he's written to President Cyril Ramaphosa for an urgent meeting to discuss the policy differences. Lindsay Dentlinger has more.
Freedom Front Plus leader Corné Mulder says he had placed on the agenda of a GNU leaders meeting last November the thorny issue of foreign policy, but there was no time to discuss the way forward. Mulder says the ANC can't continue to dominate the government's foreign policy position and all GNU parties should have a say.
We will have to sit down and discuss what do we understand in terms of what does national interest mean. There's no agreement, there was no discussion even about that. So at this stage, the ANC gives their interpretation of what's in the national interest.
Mulder says government's position on the US's invasion of Venezuela, the unrest in Iran and the controversial Navy exercises in Simonstown are positions that could come back to bite South Africa.
I think that maybe some of the international role players that deal with South Africa are becoming aware of the fact that this is not necessarily a unified position of South Africa, all the people in South Africa.
Mulder believes the country's current responses to geopolitical matters could see it removed from preferential trade access to the United States. Lindsay Dentlinger, Eyewitness News, Parliament.
And in the Western Cape, firefighters are making excellent progress to contain fires which have scorched more than 23,000 hectares of vegetation in the mountains above Franschhoek in the last 15 days. The Cape Winelands District Municipality says its fire services, together with Cape Nature and the Winelands Fire Protection Association, have managed to contain all but one fire still burning in the region. Municipality spokesperson Joanne Otto says the fire is being pushed from the mountain ridge back towards Franschhoek.
Firefighters remain concerned that this line may reach areas with a high fuel load. On the other fire lines, mopping up operations are well underway. Teams are conducting extensive damping down and mopping up operations in an effort to minimize the risk of further flare-ups over the coming days.
A look at your weather. Partly cloudy skies in store for Gauteng with isolated afternoon thunder showers expected tomorrow. Temperatures will drop to overnight lows of 14 and 15 degrees and peak at highs of 30 and 31 degrees.
Erasmus Park, Pretoria, there's an accident seen on the N1 southbound after Rigel Avenue, causing more than a 30-minute delay all the way from Linwood Road. Also, bumper-to-bumper traffic in Hermanstad. That's leaving the Pretoria CBD on Eskiam Pahlele between Vormhagen and the R80.
The top story in Eyewitness News. The South African Jewish Board of Deputies has slammed the appointment of Thapelo Ahmad as MMC for Community Development in the Johannesburg City Council.
702 Afternoons
with Relebogile Maboja, 1 to 3 p.m.
Doctor, what happens in a traditional Xhosa wedding when a woman becomes a makoti? And we know and recognize that with different families, obviously they will have their own nuances. But what usually happens when it comes to this attire that a makoti needs to wear?
The attire is a symbolism that the young lady is in a matrimonial union. So it's basically a statement. It's also telling other young men that now back off, walk away, she has been taken.
Dr. Jongi Klaas, senior researcher on Xhosa history and culture within the Department of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs in the Eastern Cape.
702 Afternoons
with Relebogile Maboja.
Let's walk the talk.
It was actually a flawless process.
It definitely pays to switch.
I wish we had done it sooner.
Outsurance business insurance clients know that it pays to switch. And did you know, when you claim, your excess is a fixed amount, not a percentage of the claim. For beauty salons, convenience stores, and all other businesses. Get a quote today and see why it pays to switch to Outsurance business insurance. Visit outsurance.co.za or call 08600 60000 today. Licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online.
Need a seat? Try 7 or 5. It's your call. Want a sunroof? Make it a panoramic. Gotta have power? How does award-winning 138 kilowatt sound? The Changan CS75 Pro is big enough for the kids, smart enough for your playlist, and stylish enough for your Friday night too. Why settle when you can have it all without compromise? The Changan CS75 Pro. Drive tomorrow's SUV today. Visit changanmotors.co.za for more.
Changan, driven to evolve.
Get down to Dis-Chem this Friday 23rd to Sunday 25th January for incredible one weekend only 2+1 cheapest free deals on the widest range of sports supplements and energy drinks from top brands, excluding advertised products. Remember to swipe your Dis-Chem Better Rewards card to get an extra 10% off on Better Rewards brands. Level up your fitness gains this summer. Get 2+1 cheapest free on sports supplements this weekend only. Dis-Chem. Better health starts here.
702. WhatsApp us on 072 702 1702.
Hey, good afternoon, 702 listeners. It's Clement in Soweto. I just wonder, how do the taxis get the disc? What they're so unroad with. Yesterday, I took a taxi from Randburg to Joburg. The door was tied up by a wire. So, Mrs. Barbara, the Transport Minister, we love you. Just try to visit the tax ranks. Visit the tax ranks and see it yourself. Please.
It's a cause for concern, and some have described and some of these taxis as moving coffins. And indeed, the question is valid. How do some of these minibus taxis really get a roadworthiness certificate? How does it even come to that? We'll touch more on this related matter a little bit later on, as we will be looking at the calls for stricter scholar transport regulations following this tragic accident, and we'll speak to the public relations officer of the Gauteng Scholar Transport Association. 20 minutes to 5 o'clock.
EWN Sport.
With Tolagele Mganga, she'll give us the very latest in the world of sports. Good afternoon one more time, Tolagele.
Afternoon, Thabo. While Paarl Royals play the Joburg Super Kings in an SA20 playoff this afternoon, with the winner set to face off with the Sunrisers Eastern Cape for a place in the final. Ahead of it, Don Lawrence has revealed that captain David Miller is a doubt for the clash due to injury.
The prognosis, I think you'd have to ask one of our medical experts, but he's here with us. I think we're just taking it day by day and we'll see how he pulls up. I don't know the exact prognosis, but he is here with us. We're unsure of whether he'll be playing tomorrow night or not, but if he doesn't, I'll be skippering.
Chelsea beat UEFA Champions League minnows Paphos to keep their hopes alive of finishing in the top 8 as Moises Caicedo scored the winner. Liam Rossinia's Blues now need to beat Napoli away on the final day to finish in the top 8 and to avoid 2 playoff matches in the 36-team league phase.
You always want to score more goals. You always want to win by bigger margins. But the reality of our situation is now we're in the top 8. If we win, we have a fantastic chance to go through. We have a very difficult game against Crystal Palace on Sunday that we need to prepare for, and then we'll assess that game of how we go about it next Wednesday.
Lions centre Henko van Wyk will play his 50th match for the franchise when they take on Ospreys in the United Rugby Championship clash on Friday night. Mone van der Berg, Asanath Ntlabakanye and Quayne Horn also return to the starting lineup, having missed their Challenge Cup draw against Perpignan. Forwards coach Wessel Roux has discussed what they expect from their Welsh opponents.
We've trained well this week. It is way colder. I mean, it was 5 degrees about when we trained now. It was wet, windy, and obviously we haven't been to the pitch. We haven't played there before. So, yeah, I think conditions are more difficult and different. But, yeah, they're quality side, and there's, I think, a mindset in Welsh rugby that there's a lot of uncertainty from their side. And I think everybody wants to fight and put their best foot forward and perform at their best level. I think they will be an absolute hungry side to make a statement.
Former England captain Jamie George will retire from rugby at the end of the 2027 season, having signed a 1-year contract extension with lifelong club Saracens. George has made 105 appearances for the English and won 3 Six Nations Championship and is a 2019 World Cup runner-up. George has spent his entire career at the Saracens, making his professional debut in 2009, winning 6 Premiership titles along with 3 European Champions Cups. And 8 stadiums across Australia have been confirmed as host venues for the 2027 Rugby World Cup, with all the matches in Melbourne set to be played under a closed roof. Sydney Olympic Stadium will be the most heavily used and will host the final on the 13th of November, the third place playoff, both semi-finals, 2 last 8 clashes, as well as 2 pool games. Perth Stadium, meanwhile, will host the opening clash on the 1st of October and will play host to 6 other games. Tolagele Mganga, Eyewitness News Sport.
EWN Traffic.
This EWN traffic is brought to you by cars.co.za. Let's find what moves you. How are the roads looking, Mr. Jali?
Well, let me start in the city of Tshwane, where there's an accident seen in Erasmus Park on the N1 southbound after Rigel Avenue, causing about a 30-minute delay all the way from Linwood Road. Hermanstad, leaving the Pretoria CBD. Traffic heavily backed up on Eskiam Patlele between Vormhagen and the R80 Groenkloof, still in Tshwane. Traffic sluggish on George Storer Drive. This is between Tutoy and the Fountain Circle. And in Bursley, Kempton Park, expect some delays on Morafontein Road between Pretoria Road and Mooi Rivier. If you come across any other traffic issues, please WhatsApp us on 072-702-1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
It's Carl de Koza here in another Carl de Koza production starring Carl de Koza and Cars.Koza. In this country, we don't just drive cars, we love cars. So slide into our DMs on WhatsApp and let's find what moves you.
Cars.Koza. You're now listening to 702 Afternoon Drive with John Perlman. Brought to you by Telkom Business. Possibility begins here.
702
Let's walk the talk on 92.7
and 106 FM.
15 to 5. Thabo in for John. Welcome back. Lovely having you with us. Feel free to interact with us on all socials at Radio 702. And also, you can just send your voice note to 072-702-1702. Tolagele together with Karabo. They're here with me in the studio. Guys, I assume that both of you are employed. It's just a vague assumption that I'm making here. But given that you are, here's the thing. At work, we always speak about work husbands, work wives, and whatever else. But there's another phenomena of work parents. Have you found someone in your workspace who was a parental figure to you? Someone that you'd go to, or someone who'd come to you, give you some advice, mentorship, and just treat you like their own child for whatever reason. And I'm not talking about people with nasty motives in any way, but just generally, and you see this person as a work mom and a work dad, work uncle. Do you have that? Because I have found that here, where we work at Prime Media, someone who plays that role, at least for me, is Sis Prim. Mom Prim is like our mom, All of us, she'll tell me, Thabo, Utlwile, she'll call me. Did you hear that this happened? Oh, Thabo, when are you submitting your invoice? And all of that, In your other workspaces, have you found that? And to what extent does that help improve your work experience? Because work can be very stressful. Tolagele?
I think we have a similar one. 702 have Mum Prim. At AWN, we have Mum Joan. You can tell that, we don't even call her by just her name. We call her Mum Joan.
Yeah.
And she's really one of those people where she can clock when your energy is a bit down.
Yeah.
She realizes, okay, it's been a little weird for you to be asking for 3 days off.
Yeah.
You're normally someone who's very consistent, and then she knows that if you do take a week off, this is the time. So I wouldn't say she's a parent, but she's an elder that all of us in the newsroom respect, because she's also gone through a lot of things in her personal life that she's been able to share with us.
Yes,
and we always like to remind her that even though she's lost those people, we're here for her to take on that parental role. So she's someone, honest, because it's my second time at EWN. Mum Prim was the first one.
Yeah.
We were at the old building. So this time around for us, it's Mum Joan, because she's exclusively just EWN's mother.
Yeah, well, not exclusively. I
No,
interact
you guys
with.
can't have her. You have Mum Prim.
Listen
You have
to
Mum
me.
Prim.
Really, I interact with Mum
You
Joan
can't
as
have
well.
all of the mothers. This is serious.
Mum Joan is yours, okay? We get it. EWN, Mum Joan is yours, but we own Mum Prim. Sis Prim is just a bit. And you, Mr. Charlie Karabo?
No, definitely Mani Prim is on the list. And
It's
Joan.
money to you.
Yes,
Okay.
I've always called her Mani
because
Prim.
you're older, because it's, well.
It's respect. It's showing respect. Thabo.
I'm kidding, bro. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
So, but then the other one, it was Prapita. Back in the days, Prapita just was so welcoming. He
Yeah.
was like he showed me around the first time. He used to be that guy who used to cheer me up when he could see that I'm down and out. He would do me favors. Sometimes I wouldn't even have asked. Maybe like I would have a puncher and he'd be like, I see you've got a puncher. Let me sort it out for you. And he was just generous and just a kind, loving man.
And I think like people that are like long-term listeners of 702, the one thing, he was the biggest Kaizer Chiefs supporter.
Yes.
Man.
Oh, really?
So whenever like maybe Pirates had lost and Chiefs had won, from the first floor, you'd hear him going, "Apa mapagania." So he was, oh my goodness, he was amazing. Like he was such a wonderful man.
But what role does that play at work? Because work can be a very stressful and confrontational space where all of us want to be professional, engaging, and so strict and whatever. What role does that do to you, knowing that there's someone at work that you can refer to, that you can go to and defer to when things go bad?
I think it just creates an environment where for 5-10 minutes you can blow off steam. And then after that, whatever the situation is, it's done. You don't allow it to linger. You just let it go. So it's knowing the fact that once you leave work, you have to leave that thing behind. When you go home, you have to be Tabo the parent, Tabo the person. Stop letting work be the thing that you take with you. Leave it in the office.
You know what I find fascinating before we close this discussion is that both of you have put some sort of a prefix to the name of the person. Mom, Joan, Mane Joan, Sis Prim, Mom Prim. However, when it suits us, we want to say, man, we are all equal. There are no old people here at work. Man, now why are you using your age against us? This is no, but I'm just saying that, I mean, it speaks to the affection with which you treat this person.
For me, it is an understanding that ultimately at work, we are all here to work. But also I understand that as my elder, I have to submit to you within that regard. It's not like I walk around saying, oh, you don't speak to me like that. And things like we still can have like the little tiffs, but also it can be respectful so that tomorrow we can still come in and continue with the situation like normal.
And the two people that you referred to, Garabo and Tolagele, as I said, you've called them Mom Prim, Mom Joan, Mane Joan, and everything else. However, there are other people their age that you don't refer to them as that. It's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. But I'm just saying it's quite interesting to note that you do not see those other, and they're not bad people, those individuals in that very same light so much that you would attribute the same prefix to them as you do to the former.
I guess it's the closeness because especially for us, 702 and EWN is the one that we mainly connect with. With the cleaners, I think we also do call them memang because it is people that we interact with on a daily basis. But like second and third floor, no offense to the people that are the same age.
No, fantastic. We'd love to find out from you in 702 Land. Do you have a work mom, a work dad? And how's that going for you? And to what extent does it improve or somehow diminish your experience at work? Let us know on 072 702 1702 and give heads up and give some shout out to that work mom and work dad if you have one. Maybe they're listening. Who knows? 011 883 0702 8 minutes to 5.
Let's walk the talk.
702.
8 to 5, Chris Yellen joins us on our regular feature, Your House, Your Home. Today, we're talking about a storm that's brewing over Eskom's threat to homeowners with rooftop solar, particularly solar panels. And our expert has warned that legal challenges loom over Eskom's threat to cut off unregistered home solar users. Chris, I'll let you say it. Good afternoon. Happy 2026. What is this all about? Chris Zealand?
Okay, hi.
Hi, sorry, I lost you for a second. I was
Sorry, can you repeat?
Yes. I was just reflecting on the fact that you had warned that legal challenges loom over Eskom's threat to cut off unregistered home solar users, and I didn't want to expand on that. I wanted you to give us some bit of clarity around that, please.
Certainly. Look, the question really arises because Eskom has embarked on a campaign telling customers that if they do not register their solar PV systems and change to a new tariff, that involves a fixed monthly cost every month, they stand liable to be cut off. They have slightly modified that stance, I see in an article this morning in News 24, where they say they will be liable to be fined. Whether it's cut off or fined, there is some serious questions, legal questions, about whether Eskom has the authority to issue a fine on a customer or to cut a customer off for not registering a system. And I want to point out that Eskom commonly refer to the Electricity Regulation Act to justify this. And I want to say categorically that if you read the Electricity Regulation Act and the scope of the Act, it specifically excludes residential installations. And I also want to say that, yes, Eskom does have the power to disconnect customers, not fine them, to disconnect them under certain circumstances that is defined in various legislation. One of which, for example, is if you don't pay your bill.
Yes.
Then they are entitled, after due process, to cut you off. Similarly, if you have a system that is not safe, and that is it's threatening the safety of their staff working on their side of the meter, on their network, then they do have the authority, if your system is non-compliant and unsafe, they do have the authority to cut you off. But the point that I want to make is that whether you comply or not, whether you've got a safe system or not, is determined by whether you have a certificate of compliance for your electrical installation and your home, which includes the solar PV system, battery storage system. If you've got a valid certificate of compliance that covers your home electrical installation, including your solar PV system, that constitutes legal proof of compliance. So yes, Eskom can ask you for proof of compliance, and if you can produce your certificate of compliance, then you have legal proof of compliance, and they cannot cut you off. So what I'm saying is this: you cannot be cut off for failing to register. You can be cut off for having an unsafe system, as indicated by the fact that you don't have a certificate of compliance. So I just want to distinguish. They have no authority, in my view, to cut you off because you didn't register your system. They do have the authority to cut you off if you cannot produce or do not have a valid certificate of compliance for your home electrical installation, including your solar PV system.
And this is for up to 50 kVA that must be registered.
Well, they talk about this figure of 50 kVA. I don't know where they get that from. The Electrical Regulation Act talks to a figure of 100 kilowatt or 100 kVA. If you have a system less than 100 kVA or 100 kilowatt, you do not have to register that system with NERSA, the regulator. The Act is silent on the matter of of home systems, but the Act does not even apply to home systems. Home systems are specifically excluded from the scope of the Electricity Regulation Act. So any statement that they are doing this in terms of the Electrical Regulation Act is wrong, because the Electrical Regulation Act does not cover home systems or home solar systems.
Chris, we'll have to invite you on the show again because we've run out of time, because there are a number of issues, and some people may be asking what's Eskom's dog in the race as far as this is concerned. But we need to have you back on the show, and maybe we can ventilate more as I anticipate frustration from a lot of people who have opted for solar energy. Always a pleasure talking to you, Chris Yeland, energy expert. 2 minutes to 5.
Africa Milani.
Weekday mornings,
4 to 6.
The repo rate is sitting at 6.75%. The Monetary Policy Committee will meet next week to review it. What are you anticipating will happen? Are they going to hold the current rate, or will they increase it by however many basis points?
We are seeing these really scary changes globally. They have some reason to hold and just look through some of these global anticipated movements. We are watching some of the dynamics that are happening between Europe and the US and the rest of the world. We might see then such certain changes.
Kandibai is an economist and strategist.
Africa Milani.
4 to 6 on 702.
Water infrastructure vandalism has tragic and dangerous consequences. The theft of manhole covers can result in fatalities, especially among children. Each damaged pipe, illegal hookup, or vandalized pump jeopardizes access to clean water, disrupts services, and threatens public safety. Report suspicious activity to the City of Johannesburg at 0800 002 587. Help combat infrastructure vandalism. Your alertness can prevent disasters. Brought to you by Johannesburg Water, a water utility that cares.
Naked people smell expensive because naked people spend less money on insurance premiums and more money on fancy French colognes with names they can't pronounce. With Naked, you can cover your car, home, and stuff in seconds. And because it's all online, it also costs less. Go to naked.insure now, get a car insurance quote in 90 seconds, and start smelling like naked people. Naked Financial Technology is an authorized FSP. Get naked.
Are you looking for the best spectacle and sunglass deal? With Specsavers buy one, get one offer, you get great value for money. Get a free pair of branded single vision prescription sunglasses up to 3,300 Rand. When you purchase a comprehensive eye examination and spectacle frames with lenses on your first pair. The best part? Choose from top brands like Police, Hugo, Under Armour, Tommy Hilfiger, Red Bull Spect, and more. Affordable eye care? Specsavers. T's and C's apply.
This is EWN.
South Africa steps aside from this year's G20 and Malema draws support ahead of pre-sentencing appearance. Good afternoon, I'm Maki Malapo. We begin in Switzerland, where Finance Minister Gauteng has told a World Economic Forum briefing that South Africa has taken a temporary leave from the G20, but it will be back. The country's Ministers of Finance, International Relations, Trade and Tourism have given a briefing at the Davos meeting this afternoon. Team South Africa has been recounting the successes of its G20 presidency last year and is gearing up to host the World Economic Forum's Special Africa Summit in April next year. Khomotso Modise has more.
In a World Economic Forum press briefing in Davos, Switzerland, Finance Minister Gauteng has announced South Africa's decision to step aside from the G20 for this year, but says it's not because the Americans can chase the country out of the G20.
But they hold an important instrument, the accreditation. If you don't have the accreditation, you can't get into the venue, even if you're around. So they won't accredit us.
Next year, the United Kingdom will preside over the G20, and Gauteng says he doubts that country. Next year, the United Kingdom will preside over the G20, and Gauteng says he doubts that country will take a similar posture. Meanwhile, US President Donald Trump has doubled down on his baseless belief in a white genocide in South Africa, repeating to reporters on the sidelines of the Davos meetings that the situation in South Africa is terrible. Khomotso Modise, Eyewitness News.
We move to the Eastern Cape, where hundreds of EFF supporters have flocked to East London to back their leader, Julius Malema, ahead of his pre-sentencing court appearance tomorrow. In October last year, Malema was found guilty of violating gun laws following a 2018 rally where video footage showed him firing shots in the air. This afternoon, the main beachfront in Quickney is littered in red, with some supporters even cooling themselves off with a swim before Malema's appearance tomorrow. Alpha Ramushana joins us on the line from Eastern Beach in Quickney. Alpha, paint a picture of what's happening there this afternoon.
Maki, I can tell you that it's a sunny but very windy day in East London, but the strong wind has not stopped EFF supporters from filling up the Eastern Beach, which is painted red with the Red Berets jubilantly swimming in party regalia. Maki, I got to speak to several EFF supporters, including Tondani Nebuhoni, who traveled all the way from Jerere in Limpopo Sweme district to show her support for her leader, Julius Malema. Whilst Tondani says she believes that Malema is being targeted and claims that his guilty verdict contravening gun laws was a plot to silence him for his political views.
This court case was brought to distract Malema from his purpose. That's why we've traveled all the way from Venda. There's no substance in this case.
Meanwhile, thousands of buses are lined up along the beachfront in East London, dropping off party members who've traveled from all over the country to support their leader. Maki, I'm actually standing right in front of some who've just disembarked the bus, and they are coming all the way from the northwest. For Eyewitness News, I'm Alpha Ramshwana, reporting live from East London in the Eastern Cape.
Staying in the Eastern Cape, the death toll in a shooting at Ntabankulu Primary School in Zwelicha has risen to 3. It's alleged that a former teacher of the school, who was out on bail for sexual assault charges involving learners, gained entry into the premises and opened fire on 3 educators, killing 1 and injuring the other 2 at the scene. One of the injured victims has now succumbed to their injuries, while another remains in critical condition in hospital. The suspect turned the gun on himself during the ordeal and was also declared dead at the scene. Police spokesperson Brigadier Nobantu Ngantana says they're investigating the circumstances.
A former teacher of the school forcibly gained entry to the premises by cutting through the perimeter fence. The suspect proceeded directly to the school kitchen, where he opened fire on 3 educators. A full investigation into the circumstances of the attack is underway, including the suspect's breach of bail conditions.
The families of 14 learners killed in the Vanderbijl Park Scholar Transport crash are calling for more arrests, saying accountability should go beyond the driver. The driver of the minibus taxi, 22-year-old Ayanda Dludla, made his first court appearance before the Vanderbijl Park Magistrates Court today. He faces a string of serious charges, including 14 of murder, 3 of attempted murder, and reckless and negligent driving. According to the state, Dludla intentionally collided with a side tipper truck, killing 12 learners on impact, with 2 others succumbing to their injuries in hospital. Family members of the victims packed the courtroom today, with many forced to stand as they followed the brief proceedings in silence and visible distress. Mungezi Koko was in court.
Relatives say while the driver is before the court, they believe others must also be held responsible, including those who allowed the vehicle to operate under questionable conditions. Temba Khadebe, an uncle to one of the victims, spoke on behalf of the affected families.
So we can't only be blaming the driver. The owner must take accountability as well, that he was part and parcel of this tragedy.
The matter has been postponed for further investigation as families continue to demand justice for the children they lost. Mongezi Koko, Eyewitness News, Vanderbijl Park.
And SANParks says the inaccessibility and damage to large parts of the Kruger National Park due to the recent flooding will severely impact its revenue this year. Already visitor numbers are down when compared to last year. 14 camps remain closed as officials begin to take stock of the damage, currently estimated at R500 million. Today, Forestry, Fisheries and Environment Minister Willie Oukamp appealed to donors to support the recovery fund set up for rehabilitation. Lindsay Dentlinger has more.
3 new bridges between Skukuza and Lower Sabi were under construction after being washed away in the 2023 floods when the heavy rain struck again. 600 people had to be evacuated at no cost to themselves at the height of the floods. SANPark says just more than 24,000 visitors entered the park between 9 and 19 January, a decline of more than 40% over the previous year. Minister Willie Oukamp says the impact of the flooding is far-reaching.
The destruction of its tourism flagship, Kruger National Park, puts a severe strain on the sustainability of the entire network of SANParks.
SANPark CEO Hapilwe Selo says drastic measures will be needed to restore damaged infrastructure and maintain visitor numbers.
We pride ourselves as an entity that runs a very vibrant tourism business, and we earn very significant flows out of that tourism business.
With a lot of infrastructure still underwater, Selo says the extent of the damage is still to be determined. Lindsay Dentlinger, Eyewitness News.
Gold's trading at $4,833.36 an ounce. The rand's at 16.22 to the dollar, at 21.82 to the pound, at 19.01 to the euro. Brent crude oil's at $64.11 a barrel.
In Alexandra, expect about a 20-minute delay heading towards Germiston N3 southbound between Marlborough Drive and Van Buren, while in the city of Tshwane, Hermanstad, leaving the Pretoria CBD. You can also expect about a 20-minute delay on Eskiam Pahlele between Vomhagen and the R80 Erasmus Park. We still have that accident scene on the N1 southbound after Rigel Avenue, causing more than a 30-minute delay from Linwood Road.
In your sport, the latest from the SA20 playoff between Paarl Royals and the Joburg Super Kings. Defending champion Madison Keys survives mid-set wobble to advance at the Australian Open. And the Sharks ready for war against table-topping Stormers.
A look at your weather. Partly cloudy skies in store for Gauteng tomorrow, with isolated afternoon thunder showers expected. Joburg and Pretoria will drop to overnight lows of 14 degrees and peak at highs of 30, and Vereenigings at 15 and 31 degrees. The top story in Eyewitness News this hour: Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana has told a World Economic Forum briefing that South Africa has taken a temporary leave from the G20, but it will be back.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app. This is EWN.
702.
Live
On the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856
92.7
and 106 FM. Let's walk the talk.
Mikey Mulapo just gave us that Eyewitness News bulletin, and she will be back with us in 20 minutes' time to give us the headlines. And so will Stephen Grotes just before that, just to update us on business and other related news at the point. And Tolagele will follow just after Mikey then. But for now, we continue with the show. I asked for your text messages on 0727021702. You did just that. And we're just speaking about parent at work that you may have, someone that you feel some sense of affinity towards at work, and this may be an older person who's taking care of you at work. They provide astute counsel, they share some pearls of wisdom with you, they mentor you here and there. They may not necessarily be a manager or in that senior position, but they are just a warm figure for you at work. Who's that person for you? Maybe shout out their name. Let them know that you know and you care about them. Or it could be that you are that parental figure at work. Well, also that's allowed. You can give us a shout on 011-883-0702. In this hour, we will speak to Thabo Maponya, who is Public Relations Officer, Greater Johannesburg Learner Transport Organization, as we continue to look at various aspects of that tragic accident where 14 learners had died as a result of that terrible vehicle accident in Vanderbijl Park. And a little bit later on, we will also touch on some of the views that you might have shared with us. 12 minutes after 5 o'clock, and here is what you had to say.
702.
WhatsApp us on 072 702 1702.
Yo, Thabo, for me, Diane van Castle, where I used to work at Mercedes-Benz Webbank. She was like a big sister to me, genuine concerns. And, Tani Crystal, at where I used to work at Subaru in Centurion, she was also like the auntie that I never had, as well as me Priscilla, where I used to work as well, VW Centurion. I miss her. She went on pension while I was still working. She was like my work mom, that one.
Yeah.
And we really appreciate people like this, because especially people who have genuine concerns about the well-being or how people are doing, even at work. You get out of your home and still worry about how another person is doing at work. Really appreciate.
Hi, Thabo. Good afternoon. On the topic about work parents, Oh yes, definitely. I think for me, I've found, and quite a few actually, umawami, ubabus banbani, having entered the corporate working space young, my early 20s. And that's something that those relationships I cherish. And some, even when I've left the organization, I still am in contact with them, and they do keep checking in as well. Yeah, so definitely it is something that one has, or myself I've experienced, and it's more amazing than anything else.
Yeah, and we were asking your work mom, your work dad, work parent, someone who is that figure to you, share with us. Because often we speak about negative things at work, but there are those individuals who make it a bit easier for us, who add a little bit of some sugary flavor to what could otherwise be a better environment, and they sweeten the space for us. And we were just wondering, who is your work mom, work dad, work parent? Share with us. I used to work for this company some many years ago when I started working, Mr. Charlie. I was working at the Catholic Institute of Education. It's a very brilliant organization, by the way. Many years. I was very young. I think I was in my early 20s at the time. And when you are in your early 20s, you just bought your first car, you're doing this, and you're thinking you're the hottest thing. I had a work mom there, and I would even call her on weekends. If something happened, I would call her. Her name is Ann Baker. And I'd say, Ann, this is what happened, and whatever. She'd go, you give me more stress than my own kids, you know that. Typical of moms, but work moms are just the best.
Yeah.
I mean, strangers just connect in a very interesting way. So that's what we're talking about. Let us know on 011-883-0702, 15 after 5.
EWN Traffic.
EWN Traffic is brought to you by Outsurance. SMS out to 45142 now. You could save on car insurance. If you don't, ask them for 500 rands. Karabo Charlie, the roads, how do they look, bro?
Well, if you're leaving the Linwood area heading towards Centurion, you can still expect about a 30-minute delay. That's on the N1 southbound. There was an accident scene in Erasmus Park there after Rigel Avenue, so avoid that route or allow for extra traveling time. Hermanstad, expect about a 20-minute delay. That's leaving the Pretoria CBD on Eskiam Pahlele between Wormhagen and the R18. Groenkloof, there's still slow-moving traffic. This is on George Storer Drive between Tutoy and the Fountain Circle. While in Bursley, Kempton Park, expect some delays on Morafontein Road between Pretoria Road and Mooi Rivier. In Alex, traveling towards Germiston, you can still expect about a 20-minute delay. This is on the N3 southbound between Marlborough Drive and Van Buren. And in Protea Glen, there's still bumper-to-bumper traffic on the N12 westbound. This is between the R554 Abu Bakr Drive and the R558. If you come across any other traffic issues, please WhatsApp us on 072-702-1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
The Outsurance pointsmen can help you find your child's missing school shoe, but they can ease the traffic congestion. So you get there before the bell rings. With the Outsurance pointsmen on the roads for the past 20 years, we can all get where we need to be quickly and safely in the new year. Outsurance really means it when they say you always get something out. In proud partnership with 702, show them some love online using hashtag PointsmenLove, licensed insurer and FSP.
Driving the conversation on 702 Afternoon Drive with John Perlman. Powered by Telkom Business. Possibility begins here. Let's walk the talk.
702.
The government has been called to enforce mandatory training and licensing for scholar transport drivers following the horrific accident that killed 14 learners in the Vaal area on social media. And you might also have heard it in Bongani Bingwa's show a little bit earlier on, actually this morning, when he played a clip of the interaction as posted by Atim Tongan. from the President's office, the interaction between the President and the Minister of Basic Education, Sivuwe Kwahobe, interacting about what should be done after the situation. And the President was mentioning something very important, saying that perhaps these scholar transport drivers must be trained must be given advanced driving training as much as, if not almost close to the one given to the VIP protection. Joining us right now is Thabo Maponya, Public Relations Officer, Greater Johannesburg Learner Transport Organization. Mr. Maponya, thanks for your time. Welcome to 702.
Oh, good afternoon to everyone in the studio and the listeners as well. Thank you for...
Yeah, before we even jump into the actual meat of what we'd like to discuss, perhaps reflect on the structure that you represent, the Gauteng Scholar Transport Association. What is it that you guys do? Who are your members, and when were you established?
Okay. It is GJL2O. We've got 32 organizations under organizations under the region under the structure. So we like 32 associations under us. And when did we establish it? During the time of COVID, when we realized the challenges that we were having as scholars. Then that's when we actually decided to establish it.
Sure. And what is your purpose really?
Our purpose is to manage the problems that we're having in terms of operation on the road and understanding to our drivers as well, to actually comply with the rules.
And for a member association to be affiliated to you, what is it that they need to do to be affiliated to yourselves? Do you check? Do you have any criteria that you use?
Yes, we do. To be quite honest with you, when all this association started and stuff, because now we didn't know the regulations and stuff when they actually started. And some of the members, they actually joined without us checking on their vehicles, whether they are roadworthy or whatsoever. But ever since we actually established this region, we actually managed to speak to all organizations that we need to make sure that every year when we renew the members' membership. So now what you need to do, the member, when they bring their documents, they have to check whether the car it's in a good state and it's got disc on it. And as for the member, they've got licenses and PDPs. And the challenge again with the PDPs as well is that, we're having problems with that as well through the department and stuff.
So perhaps what is your immediate reaction to the tragic accident that facilitates this discussion, Mr. Maponya?
Are you talking about the one that happened?
Yes, where Vanderbijl Park, 14 learners dying.
First of all, I just want to say, send my condolences to the families. It is not such a thing with this. We could celebrate that. That we as an organization, we would like to say we acknowledge the fact that our driver, he was at wrong. We acknowledge that as an organization. But now, what we don't understand is that when one person has been reckless and the blame is being shifted to everyone, that there is obeying and paying attention to the law.
And given that your driver in this instance was wrong, are there any other steps that you intend to take to make sure that perhaps some of those affiliates of yours adhere strictly not just to the regulations of the road, but to general traffic rules?
Look, we work hand in hand with the department. We sit with them in the crisis committee. We discuss such things with them. That we even ask them that please make the police be visible. These cops, they need to be visible. They must stop hiding behind trees. They need to be visible at all times. We need to see them on the road. they have to do their job, because now we can't be able to manage this, because during the time of operation, when I'm taking kids to school, I won't be able to look at what other member is doing, whether the other member is drunk. Remember, I'm also doing the job as well. So I won't be able to see whether that member is drunk. But with them on the road, I think that will actually minimize the problems that you're having.
Yeah, so what is the use of the organization if you're not going to impose any disciplinary behavior, have a code of discipline and a code of conduct amongst your members? Do you have a code of conduct?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
A member, each and every association that operates, the association, when we actually accept a member into our organization, what we do is we give a member a code of conduct, we give a member a contract to a parent, we give a member a contract with the association and the member, and the constitution as well.
Okay. So what are the repercussions? What are some of the penalties if any of your members contravene your code of conduct?
It says in our constitution that the executive has got the right to confiscate a membership from a member that does not apply with the ruling of the organization, or when the member is being found at wrong at some stage, when the member is being found or being guilty of molesting or drinking.
And if that membership is taken, what does that mean really to the person who has infringed your code of conduct?
If the member is what?
I'm saying if the membership is withdrawn, what does it mean? Are there any negative implications to the membership being withdrawn?
I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that, because now, remember what we're trying to do here is that, remember we work with kids here. So now we need to be on the safe side at all times.
Yeah. So I don't know, perhaps if you understand the question that I'm asking. I'm saying you said that if you find that any of your members are on the wrong in doing something, you will take away the membership. I'm saying once that membership has been taken away from them, what is the disadvantage of not having that membership? Will they stop being allowed to operate in your routes? What is going to happen?
Oh, yes. Oh, now I understand it clearly now. When we take away your membership, obviously, if you are not a member, you are not allowed to operate. So you won't be able to operate.
Where? In the routes that you have designated?
Yes, in our route. Actually, everywhere, because now in all these areas, we are visible in all these areas in Johannesburg. So now we work hand in hand with all these organizations. We report a member that we've got a so-and-so member with a certain registration, because we keep database of every member that joins the organization. So now we have your license. We keep your vehicle's copy of your ticket. So now it is easy for us to understand. Hence, we always emphasize on the parents and saying to parents, please make sure that when you send children into a vehicle, make sure you ask for
they have a membership. But 1 second. I don't have a lot of time, and you would understand that my tone has been rather moderate because this is a very sensitive issue, and I don't want to score petty points by pointing a blame after so many children have died, because this mainly affects rural areas, peri-urban areas, townships, and areas where people are struggling. But perhaps in closing, what are you doing about the deaths? You could argue that it's a legal thing and it will be dealt with one way or the other. What are you doing about this pervasive and erosive tendency of these scholar transports, wherein firstly kids, very little kids, up to as low as 3-year-olds, are subjected to extreme levels of noise going to school, kwaito, piano and everything else playing, to packed like sardines in a can. And obviously overloading is an issue there. But 3, some of your members help the children to abscond from schools. Don't drop them off. Actually transport them to various areas of entertainment where booze is served, alcohol, and they truant to schools, and the parents don't even get to know about it. If I know about this, surely, Mr. Maponya, you know this. Surely you do.
I'm happy that you've raised that one as well. Let me respond to that one. The challenges that you are having is that we've been saying this to parents as well that, you know what, this is the biggest challenge that you're having. These small boys, as young as 18, 20 years, their parents out of school, they didn't manage to buy them kumbis, and then they send them to transport. Children at their age, that is a challenge. You look at it where it comes from. They are traveling, they're actually transporting children at their age. From 20, 25, going down.
So why don't you stop them? Because they are in your routes, and you said that anyone without a license, you will stop them. Anyone without your permits, you will stop them. Why don't you stop them?
Yes, we are trying to work on that. And again, like I'm saying to you, with the regulation and the constitution that we have in our country, it is against us when we challenge that with the MEC and said to them, listen here, what must we do with people that they won't belong?
So your organization doesn't bite, doesn't have teeth at the end of the day. It's just a decorative organization. You don't have the power to enforce anything.
No, we don't. According to the Constitution of South Africa, they say everyone is allowed to operate.
Okay. Mr. Maponya, we'll have to leave it at that. Thanks very much. Thabo Maponya, Public Relations Officer, Greater Johannesburg Learner Transport Organization, 28 after 5.
EWN Business.
All things business that matter, he'll cover them. Stephen Grotes in front of me. What's happening, Mr. Grotes?
Good afternoon to you, Tubble. Well, the JSE All Share up 0.6% on the day, 121,502 points. Financials up strongly, up 2%. Industrials up 1.27%. Resources down 1.3%. Gold coming off after yesterday's highs, partly because the US President Donald Trump no longer says he's going to use force to take Greenland. Lots of painful clicks today. Their shares ending the day down 6.34% after a 20-week update to the middle of January, in which they said their group turnover was up 7% and retail sales were up 6%, and their pharmacy turnover was up 9%. But I think investors wanted more, and I think the numbers also suggest to many people that Dis-Chem is really coming close to them. And of course, we know how tough a competitor Dis-Chem is. So that seems to be one of the reasons that they've shed so much value today. Gold shares down as well. Anglo Gold is down 6%. Gold Fields down nearly 5%. Harmony down 3.42%. And then Glencore down 2% as well on the day. Dis-Chem themselves down 2%. A stellar day for Sasol. 14% up on the day. They said they're expecting to sell more fuel this year. The Natref refinery is doing better than expected. It's come on stream properly. Their de-stoning plant is up and running. That means they can now sell a poorer quality coal again, and that makes those mines producing again, and that's very important for them. Coronation up nearly 7%. MTN up nearly 6%. Implat's actually up 5.29%, and Sanlam up nearly 4% on the day. A couple of the platinum miners still doing quite nicely. We'll talk more on the Money Show about Nedbank's deal. They want to spend 14 billion rand buying the Kenyan bank NCBA. They seem to lose a bit of money in West Africa. They're changing focus to East Africa, and we'll focus on why on the Money Show tonight. I think that's going to be quite important. In the US, a little bit of a jump. We've become used to this, the taco trade. A little bit of the exuberance toning down as the session gets on. The Dow Jones is up 0.5%. The Nasdaq is up 0.54%. The S&P 500 is up 0.3% on the day so far. The gold price slightly lower, $4,835.24 an ounce platinum, $2,520.54 Brent crude, $64.12. And then the rand was at a 3-year high to the dollar earlier at around 1620 now, to the euro 19 exactly, to the British pound 21.82. On the Money Show tonight, we'll talk about Nedbank's latest venture. We'll speak to the interim chief executive for personal and private banking at ABSA, Christine Wu. She's at Davos. We've seen the Trump administration telling people there, green energy is a scam, they say. They're big in investing in that space. Have they noticed any change? It's going to be one of the questions we're looking at. We will talk also about Eskom. I know you were talking to Chris Yelland, and this demand that you register your solar. We'll speak to Eskom themselves. And I'm particularly interested in two things. Eskom says they're going to fine you. Really? You and which police force? Okay. And the second thing is they're saying, we want you to pay for your electricity if you've got a solar installation postpaid. In Soweto, do you remember the protests in Soweto when they said you must pay for your electricity first, prepaid? So now in some places it must be prepaid and in some places postpaid.
Come now, let's go. Okay, we'll speak to Eskom about that as well. Stephen Curtis, EWN Business.
Definitely the conversation that you don't want to miss, so make sure that you are tuned in. Between 6 and 8 o'clock, Stephen Curtis will take you through all of those. Mikey Mulapo standing by with Eyewitness News headlines a little bit late. Apologies, Mikey. What's the latest?
Thanks, Taba. Good afternoon. The Supreme Court of Appeal has dismissed a bid to prevent the sale of former President Nelson Mandela's personal items, bringing an almost 4-year legal battle to an end. Madiba's eldest daughter, Makaziwe Mandela, planned to auction dozens of personal items belonging to her late father. The proceeds would be used for the construction of a memorial garden at Madiba's burial site in Qunu in the Eastern Cape. But in March 2022, the South African Heritage Resources Agency intervened, instituting legal action to prevent the auction from taking place. Higher Education Minister Buti Manamela says his sector is set for a stable start to the 2026 academic year. He says his War Room technical team, which includes heads of universities, has been monitoring admissions at universities and colleges to ensure all systems are ready. The minister briefed the media in Pretoria earlier, acknowledging that minor incidents may occur when the second wave of registration starts in the coming weeks. He's also suggested that the time of the matric results be reviewed to give the sector adequate time to place students.
We believe that we can release the results much earlier. So we agree that we need to find a sweet spot, which will help us with most of the challenges, including the fact that some parents are waiting for confirmation. And so we're trying to get that sweet spot, and we're hoping that by the next results, we would have made a determination. It will help us with regards to the registration process. It's also unfair to the kids.
The South African Jewish Board of Deputies has slammed the appointment of Thapelo Ahmad as MMC for Community Development in the Johannesburg City Council. It says the appointment sends a troubling message to Johannesburg residents that violence and hate speech are acceptable. 2 years ago, Ahmad took to social media to show his support for Hamas and posted himself carrying a rifle. The South African Human Rights Commission ruled that his posts crossed the line from political expression to unlawful hate speech. SAJBD spokesperson Sharisa Zayfert.
For the City of Johannesburg to appoint someone guilty of hate speech and someone who has refused to adhere to their ruling is appalling. The role of MMC for Community Development requires a person who adheres to the values of intercommunal respect, social cohesion, and the protection of all residents regardless of their background.
And US President Donald Trump has launched his new Board of Peace in Davos today with a signing ceremony for a body with a $1 billion membership fee and a controversial list of invitees. A group of leaders and senior officials from 19 countries gathered on stage with Trump to put their names to the founding charter of the body. Originally meant to oversee peace in Gaza after the war between Hamas and Israel, the board's charter envisions a wider role in resolving international conflicts, sparking concerns that Trump wants it to rival the United Nations. However, Trump, who's the chairman of the Board of Peace, said the organization would work in conjunction with the UN. The Board of Peace's potential membership has, however, proved controversial, with Trump having invited Russian President Vladimir Putin, who said he's still studying the invite. Here's U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio.
Now we have this Board of Peace, who I believe's possibilities are endless. Obviously, with a focus first and foremost on making sure that this peace deal in Gaza becomes enduring. This is not just a board of peace, this is a board of action. Oftentimes in international affairs, we often find ourselves at events where people are reading these scripted statements, these strongly worded letters that they put out, but no action, nothing happens. This is a group of leaders that are about action.
A look at your weather. Partly cloudy skies in store for Gauteng with isolated afternoon thunder showers expected tomorrow. Temperatures will drop to overnight lows of 14 and 15 degrees and peak at highs of 30 and 31 degrees.
Hermanstad expect about a 20-minute delay leaving the Pretoria CBD. That's on a Skiam Pahlele between Vormhagen and the R80. Wonderboom. Still in Pretoria, there's bumper-to-bumper traffic on Steve Biko Road. Between Fred Nicholson and Lavender, and in Bursley, Kempton Park expect some delays on Morafontein Road between Pretoria Road and Mooi Rivier.
The top story in Eyewitness News. The Supreme Court of Appeal has dismissed a bid to prevent the sale of former President Nelson Mandela's personal items, bringing an almost 4-year legal battle to an end.
Clement Maniatella.
Weekday mornings,
9 to 12.
9 to 12.
Pitzap, what do you want to say about this fear around witchcraft? How do you live your life?
Clement, I want to tell my story. People always tell me, don't tell us about what they're doing because people will stand in front of you and do certain things before you. You know, I rolled with my car, but the car was fixed, it's fine. Do you remember there was a story of people buying lightning?
Buying lightning?
Yes,
From
yes,
who?
Lightning. They say in Marabastad it's 5 randos. Yes, it's an allegation. It's an allegation. Now, the base officer, he went and investigated this thing.
And he found that you can buy lightning for 5 rand in Marabastad.
Clements Maniatella.
9 to 12 on 702.
Stop and think, will you survive the AI revolution or thrive? Regenesis students are thriving. 11 cutting-edge schools, 111 countries, world-class team of 1,111 with one mission: awakening your potential. Choose from law, business, technology, AI, health, economics, entrepreneurship, public management, skills academy, and digital Regenesis. Undergraduate, postgraduate, upskilling, customized corporate programs. The question isn't, can you afford to enroll? It's, can you afford not to? Enroll now. Regenesis.net. Achieve your dreams.
Naked people smell expensive because naked people spend less money on insurance premiums and more money on fancy French colognes. Go to naked.insure now, get a car insurance quote in 90 seconds, and get naked. Naked Financial Technology is an authorized FSP.
Hi, I'm in grade 6 at Crawford International, and I'm already building my future. At Crawford, we don't just learn, we prepare for the world ahead. By grade 10, I can choose from a range of subjects in any combination. With experienced teachers, amazing extracurriculars, and AI-driven support, I'm set up to excel in everything, from maths to public speaking. Book your personalized tour. Crawford International, building global leaders.
The countdown to the Barron's Gone in 60-hour sale has begun. From 22 to 24 January, over 100 cars must go at prices so low, it's a steal. Save thousands on new, demo and used Vivos, Polos, T-Crosses, Tigos, Tiguans and more. Stock is limited, blink and they'll be gone. Speak to Barron's Woodmead and Bruma today. Barron's, the Volkswagen people.
702.
WhatsApp us on 072 702 1702.
Tabo, let me tell you about the taxis. Right, the police know about the taxis. The president himself, because he's from Shawelo, he knows exactly about the taxis. All the politicians, it doesn't mean that they don't know, because before they became ministers and MMCs or whatever, they used taxis. They know what we are going through. They mustn't come and tell us that they didn't know that our taxis are moving coffins. Go to Barra taxi rank right now. Go to North Street taxi rank. Go to MTN, Brie taxi rank. Oh, it's death waiting to happen. I'm telling you. Taru, what deep proof?
Hi, Tabo. Hope you're good. Stovey from Orange Grove. What really upsets me the most, this whole thing should never have happened. People have to be vetted, as you're busy interviewing now. But what really makes me the most angry is this government is always reactive, never proactive. That's what gets to me. They always wait for something bad to happen and then they react. So yeah, that's my 2 cents worth. Have a beautiful afternoon.
Hi Tavo, it's Loretta from Alberton. I'm the Mamzo at work. Everybody calls me Mamzo. I do basically everything for them. I even pick up after them. And if they're having fights with their managers and they want me to talk to them, and ease the tensions between them, I do that. If they want to find out how many hours they're going to get paid, I do that. If they want, even though it's not my job anymore, to check flights and stuff like that, I do that. I am the mom, so I do everything. I give hugs, everything.
Very nice of you. And it sounds like you're enjoying your role as the mamzo at work. And in case you're wondering why, we asked earlier on at your workplace, who is your parental figure, your work mom, your work dad? Could be that you're a work dad or your work mom. But a voice message that came ahead of this one from Orange Grove, I think you are just spot on. I honestly don't want to add anything. I agree with you 100%. It breaks my heart that the government can be so reactionary on such important issues, so much that they go beyond the call of duty and suppose and sometimes overstretch themselves. They have plenty of time throughout the year to implement programs that could protect these kids from these horrible accidents. They don't do that. When something happens, perhaps it's a big PR moment for them to come out guns blazing, stopping everything. I was flabbergasted this morning when I heard that there's a big roadblock by the police to stop every vehicle on the road in Van der Bijl Park. And I'm thinking, a little too late, don't you think? Why don't we have these programs daily? Why don't we have these programs daily? Well, that's that. If you'd like to share more with us, feel free to do so on 072 702 1702. 16 minutes to 6 o'clock.
EWN Sport.
With Tolagele Mganga. Tolagele, what's the latest? Good afternoon.
Afternoon, Tabo. Well, we start in Centurion, where the Joburg Super Kings won the toss and sent Paarl Royals into bat in their playoff. Paarl are currently at the crease on 23 without any loss in the third over. Batting is Luandre Pretorius on 7 alongside Carl Verena on 15. At the same time, Tony De Zorzi and Donovan Ferreira have been ruled out of the 3-match T20 series against the West Indies, as well as the World Cup due to injury. De Zorzi has a right hamstring muscle tear, while Ferreira sustained a fracture to his left clavicle. They're now replaced by Ryan Rickleton and Tristan Stubbs in the 15-player squad. David Miller has suffered an abductor muscle injury, and his availability for the World Cup remains subject to the outcome of a fitness test. As a result, Ruben Herdman has been added to the squad for the series against the Windies. Switching over to the Australian Open, where Jannik Sinner, Stan Wawrinka, Novak Djokovic, Igor Swiatek and Naomi Osaka are just some of the big names through to the third round after wins today. Defending champion Madison Keys was down a double break in the second set before rallying to beat Ashlyn Kruger. She'll next face former world number 1 Karolina Pliskova.
I think overall today, pretty happy. I think I started really well, obviously, and I was expecting her to raise her level, which she did. But I was just really happy that I was able to kind of stay gritty and stay in that second set and be able to get out of it with a straight sets win.
The Sharks welcome back 4 Springboks for Saturday's United Rugby Championship clash against the Stormers. Andre Esterhuizen, Ethan Hooker, Grant Williams and Siya Kolisi all return to the match day 23, having been rested for last weekend's Champions Cup win over Clermont. Bongi Mbonambi and his teammates are 14th on the log and seeking their first URC win against the Stormers in Cape Town in 5 attempts.
It's a traditional South African derby rugby match, and everyone knows that first of all it's going to be physical. It's going to be 2 quality sides going at each other for the whole 80 minutes. As you've seen, the Stormers are obviously performing well this season in both competitions. So I mean, yeah, they've got the depth, they've got the squad, a well-coached side. From our side, we had a lot of guys resting last weekend, and the guys joined us on Monday. So yeah, we look forward to connecting together and making sure that we make plans to make sure that we go down to Cape Town. We're well prepared.
And goalkeeper Luka Zidane will not miss any of Algeria's 2026 FIFA World Cup games despite being handed a 2-game ban by CAF. The ban stems from incidents after Algeria's 2-0 loss to Nigeria at AFCON, and Zidane will miss 2 games during 2027 qualifiers that begin in September. Defender Rafiq Belkali was also handed a 4-game ban, but 2 of those games are suspended. Tolagele Mganga, Eyewitness News Sport.
EWN Traffic.
14 minutes to 6 o'clock. How do the roads look as people are heading for home meetings or for their early dinner sessions? Mr. Charlie, what's happening?
Well, at this hour, if you're leaving the Pretoria CBD, you can expect about a 20-minute delay. That's in the Hermannstad area on Eskiam Pahlele between Formhagen and the R80. Vonderboom, north of Pretoria, bumper traffic on Steve Biko Road between Fred Nicholson and Lavender. In Ekurhuleni, Bursley, Kempton Park, expect some delays on Modderfontein Road between Pretoria Road and Mooirivier. Alex, heading towards Germiston, there's still about a 20-minute delay on the N3 southbound between Marlborough Drive and Van Buren, Protea Glen, Soweto. Traffic a bit sluggish on the N12 westbound. This is approaching the R558. If you come across any other traffic issues, kindly WhatsApp us on 072-702-1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Stay with 702 Afternoon Drive with John Perlman. Brought to you by Telkom Business. Possibility begins here.
For more about 702,
go to primemediaplus.com.
12 minutes to 6 o'clock, and as I always say, during this time, John would be speaking to you about some musical theme, and he'd ask you a question to which he'd expect your participation. Nothing has changed. I request, humbly so, the very same. There are many groups that really musically move us. They come together as a band and they touch our hearts. And as we're expecting one hit after the other, you are following them very closely. Back in the day, you have every single CD that they would release. You follow them closely. You want to know what they're up to. And just after they hit, bad news happen. You hear that. The group disbanded. They're no longer together. The lead singer wants to do a solo project on their own. Your heart breaks because together they were doing amazing, amazing music. That's what we'd like to find out from you. Which girl group broke your heart when they broke up? When they disbanded? When they went their separate ways? Which girl group did that for you and you wished that they had stayed together? But for some reason, they couldn't be bothered. They were not bothered. And you'd remember Destiny's Child. That was also the issue with them. They had beautiful music that they'd put together, and all three of the group's final members, Beyonce, Kelly Rowland, and Michelle Williams, have gone on to do their own thing, and they've gone on to do literally their own projects. And the final album was Destiny, fulfilled in 2004, but they flirted with reunion rumors for years. It never really happened. But do you remember TLC? Yeah, it was made up of T-Boz, Chili, and Left Eye. TLC created one of the most successful female groups of all times. They gave us hits like Creep, No Scrubs, and many others. And speaking of TLC, this is the girl group that broke my heart when they went separate ways. This became a very huge song. Many movies quoted the song, and if they didn't play this tune as well. TLC, Waterfalls. Which girl group really broke your heart when they went separate ways? Let us know on 072 702 1702.
702 Afternoons
with Relebogile Maboja, 1 to 3 p.m.
Doctor, what happens in a traditional Xhosa wedding when a woman becomes a makoti? And we know and recognize that with different families, obviously they will have their own nuances. But what usually happens when it comes to this attire that a makoti needs to wear?
The attire is a symbolism that the young lady is in a matrimonial union. So it's basically a statement. It's also telling other young men that now back off, walk away, she has been taken.
Dr. Jongi Glass, senior researcher on Xhosa history and culture within the Department of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs in the Eastern Cape.
702 Afternoons
with Relebogile Maboja.
Let's walk the talk.
We at Monument Dental are very happy with the premium we're paying. I wish I did it sooner.
Outsurance business insurance clients know that it pays to switch. And did you know you could get a massive 20% discount on your business insurance premium when you switch? For dentistries, general medical practices, and all other businesses, get a quote today and see why it pays to switch to Outsurance business insurance. Visit outsurance.co.za or call 08600 60,000 today. Licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online.
At Checkers, 2026 is better with over 1,500 deals. Like Lancewood Double Cream Yogurt 700 grams or 1 kg tub, any two for 79 Rand, save 31 Rand. Coca-Cola Original Taste Less Sugar Soft Drink 2 litre, any two for 45 Rand, save 11 Rand. And Kellogg's Cornflakes 1 kg for 74.99, save 10 Rand. Valid until Sunday at Checkers, Checkers Hyper, or shop on 6060.
702 Afternoon Drive with John Perlman was brought to you by Telkom Business. Possibility begins here.
For more about 702,
go to primemediaplus.com.
Couple of text messages that we've received, and we'll go through some of them. One mentions Spice Girls, and they said their famous hits such as "Wanna Be" and "Say You'll Be There." They were amazing, and this comes from Perry in Midrand. On one end, there is also from Noliha. Noliha says the girl group Joy broke my dad's heart when the lead singer left the group. Here's Joy. Fantastic group. I mean, you would have thought that there was some international outfit. Joy, Paradise Road. Another text message coming from Orbit in Kempton Park. Good afternoon, Tabo. For me, the group that hurt me when they split was Destiny's Child. A little bit of Destiny's Child.
You're happy, yeah. We've seen this all before, brothers taking advantage of the passion because we come too far for you to feel alone, you to let it walk over your heart. I'm telling you, girl, I can tell you've been crying and you're needing somebody to talk to. Girl, I can tell it's been
you know that we love you. See what y'all don't know about him is I can't let him go because he needs me. And it really hear him stress from his job, and I ain't making it easy. I know you see him bugging most of the time, but I know deep inside he don't mean it. It gets hard sometimes, but I need my man. I don't think
And that was Destiny's Child when they were still together. They didn't manage to come back together again. I suppose Beyonce was the lodestar that was so bright than many of them. This one says, hi, Tabo. Spice Girls is one of them. Their famous hits such as Wanna Be and Say You'll Be There were amazing. Coming from Perry in Midrand.
giving you everything, all that joy can bring. This I swear. Last time that we had this conversation, I decided we should be friends. Hey, but now we're going round in circles. Tell me, will this deja vu never end? Oh, and now you tell me that you're falling in love. Well, I never ever thought that would be. Hey, this time you gotta take it easy, throwing far too much emotions at me. But any fool.
A minute to 6 o'clock. Stephen Groot is bouncing his head to the Spice Girls. Steve, you love this one.
It's not my
just-
favourite Spice Girls one. They're better ones by the Spice Girls.
Yeah, but
not
this
many,
will do
but
for
there
now.
are.
Now I know what to get you for your next Christmas gift.
On CD.
Yeah. Old school like me. Well, lovely spending time with you. Had a fantastic time. John is back with you tomorrow. Thanks to the fabulous team for putting this together. And most importantly, thanks to you. Someday we'll all be free. Have a lovely evening.
If you put two and two together, you will see what our friendship is for. Oh, if you can work this.
And now, The Money Show.
With Stephen Grootes, live on 92.7 and 106 FM. Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
And DSTV channel 856.